Silencer Central. Folks, if you want to learn something new right alongside me, check it out at silencercentral.com. I've never put a suppressor on any of my weapons, but I'm going to start now, and I'm using Silencer Central to help get me started because they walk you through the whole process. To include, you can ship the rifle to them, they'll thread it, they'll put it on, and they will ship it back, and you can make payments on the whole thing while you wait for all the licensing to get approved, which they take care of for you. It's a great process, and it's a great company, American manufacturer, right there in South Dakota, and we are really excited to be partnering with them. So check it out at silencercentral.com or give them a call at 888-781-8778 and let them know that you heard it on the Western Huntsman. Hoffman Boots is my go-to boot. I love the Explorers in the 8-inch, and they've got the Vibram sole, totally waterproof, no break-in period. They just glue your feet to the mountain. You can't ask for more out of a boot, and you don't have to break the bank to get a pair. So check it out at hoffmanboots.com. Again, another American company. Local North Idaho friend of mine who runs this company decided to make some great hunting boots for all people that are serious about getting into the backcountry to chase elk and deer and bear and everything else out there. So check it out at hoffmanboots.com. Use promo code AllCapsLockHuntsman10 at checkout to save you 10%. There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman Podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you from the Broken Tine studio right here in good old Heron, Montana. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. It's been a heck of a ride here the last few weeks. We were at the Hunt Expo last, actually, that was 2 weeks ago. So I've got some good episodes to put out from that. We had some really good conversations. In fact, I put one out already with Ed Arnett and Jim Heffelfinger and Ike Eastman. They were on that one. So anyways, guys, glad to be back here in the actual studio, even though it's totally under construction right now. And I've just got myself kind of cornered off in this little section of it until I get it all ready to go. But it's going to be a few months because this guest today, he lives close enough where under normal circumstances, I would have invited him right in here to the studio and we could have done it in person because I think those turn out better for the most part. But circumstantially, it's just not ready. My wife would kill me if I had somebody come over to the house in the current state of condition it is in, so to speak. Not to mention my front yard is a mud bog right now. So anyways, this week I've got somebody on the show that is has been. So I don't know if you guys know this, actually, as the listeners. I don't put out a lot of feelers for guests. I find people that are interested or interesting to me, or if I feel like they're an expert in some particular subject matter, or I just feel like they'd be a good conversation. And I'm always looking for, people that are going to be authentic. They're going to be themselves. They're going to be a good conversation, or they're a subject matter expert. And I don't. So I have on my website, like, people could fill out this little form if they want to be on the show. And I get a bunch of those requests and stuff like that. But I promised you guys, I'm not like a gear whore. I don't want to talk about somebody's piece of gear for an hour or whatever. And this isn't like an hour-long commercial for anything. And so the other way I get guests is my friends will let me know about somebody in particular that they think would be a good guest on the show. maybe they would like to have some of them are also podcast guests, and so, or I'm sorry, some of them are also podcast hosts, and they'll say, some so and so would be a really good guest for you, maybe not a fit for my show, kind of thing, or whatever. So, anyways, I get a lot of those, and this particular guest was referred to me by two different people. And the last one, the guy that referred him to me, is I every time he makes a recommendation, it always ends up being a really good episode. So I've got somebody on named Scott Rockholm. He's kind of I say fellow North Idahoan, but now I'm I committed adultery and moved to Montana, according to some of my Idaho peeps out there. So Scott Rockholm is joining me, and he has got, we're going to talk a lot about wolves in this episode, and he's got the credibility and authority to speak on it. So, Scott, welcome to the show, brother. I really appreciate you joining me.
Thanks for having me, Jim. I appreciate it.
Let's, as I kind of told you, let's kick it off with, give everybody a snapshot of your background, who you are, and we'll dig right into this topic.
I'm just a regular guy. I always think of myself as such. In 1992, I moved to North Idaho from California. I was 23 or 24 years old. I was a young guy, and I just got out of the Army, and I started dating my wife and asked her to move up here. And my family's from Thompson Falls. That's where my family's originally from, but back in the 20s, they moved to California. Therefore, you happen to be just a piece of trash Californian, as they say. So, where I grew up was fantastic too, but it wasn't for me. And so I moved back up here and started my family. And I wasn't quite a honed hunter back then, back in the old days, 92, 93, 94. And I was trying to teach myself, holy cow, I just moved to the mecca of elk hunting. I just didn't even really realize that. So I'm your everyday run-of-the-mill working class. I can get 2 weeks off a year, and that's all I get, kind of the guy to go hunting. And nothing wrong with it. It just was my life. I had to work. I have 3 daughters. I've been married for 32 years to the same woman, and I was just chugging along, doing my thing, hunting. Invite old friends from California to come hunting with me. And it was fantastic. I mean, we would be in elk, and it would be just amazing, this most amazing thing. And about 1999 to 2000, the wolves started having an effect. We heard, and this is going to be a common thing about what I talk about. I heard in 99 how, and this is 4 years after they introduced wolves in the central part of Idaho, what they were doing. I'm like, oh shit, it's not going to happen to me. I'm 30 something years old. Shit, I can traipse the mountains and kill elk, and I can kill deer. My wife got a moose tag, and we killed a moose, and all those things. I ignored it because it wasn't happening to me. And I remember in 2004 or 5, it hit me. It hit my hunting. And I was hunting this particular area. You may know of it. You probably pass by it all the time. It's Lightning Creek.
Oh, yeah.
Lightning Creek is one of our normal travel spots, right?
Sure. Yeah, I know it well.
It's been there for 30 years, and you could pull it out. If you went to elk camp, 40% of the guys were going to get elk. And everybody helps each other get the elk, and that's just how it works. Because we only have a limited amount of time, and we're not pro hunters. We're just average people that watch pro hunters kill shit, and we're like, damn, how do they do it? Like every time they're killing it. So that's going to be the basis of where I started. So it's a fish game. And I said, I never really was that much engaged. I would go to the meetings, and I would kind of follow along with what was happening. And this one day I went, it was winter time. I went up Lightning Creek with some friends. There's probably 7 or 8 of us, and we found 7 moose that had been hamstrung. I didn't even know what that meant back then. I didn't even know what the hell that was. I knew it was something like, I didn't even know cougars or wolves. We don't think of those things until it happens, right?
Yeah.
So I went to my fishing game and I said, what the hell's going on up there? Jim Hayden, Idaho Fishing Game. Now he's like a big, back then he was just the North Idaho biologist for Region 1.
Sure.
I went to him at a fishing game meeting, and he basically told me to fuck off. We're the experts. You don't know shit, Rockholm. Go home. Whoa, that hit me wrong. So it was a few months later, and I kept going up there, and I was filming it. I was taking pictures, and not even knowing that I would ultimately end up doing what I do now. I just wanted to capture what it was that was happening. So if you ever see a moose running down the road, they're long-legged, they haul ass. I mean, you couldn't catch them. You couldn't catch them on a four-wheeler. Really. I mean, you can go 40 miles an hour and you're still going to be barely keeping up with them.
Oh, yeah.
And when you see their back legs swinging out to the side and you could see the flesh and the tendons exposed, it shocks you to the core. You're like, what the hell is this? And, we didn't take us long, but, we went for answers to experts. So I went to a fishing game meeting in Kellogg, Idaho. This is 2006 or 7. And I stood up and I said, look, what's going on? And the commissioners and all the officials and everybody told me, look, go home, Rockholm. You just don't understand what's going on. This is normal, and you're going to see a little bit of damage to the wildlife. This is normal. It balances out. It's good. I thought, well, if I see 7 moose in one day that have been hamstrung, and then it took a week or maybe 2 weeks to kill them, this started leaning up to the point where we could hunt them. We were trying to get them delisted at the same time. And then I started paying attention to delisting, listing, whatever all that horse shit was. And kind of follow along with that. So these guys told me I was an idiot, which I kind of was, because I didn't follow the issues that didn't affect me before it hit me. This is where we are now. Because all the people in Colorado, I guarantee you, I bet I had 150 calls from Colorado because they just got wolves. And they're like, wait, what? So that was me back then. I was like, wait. So I started seeking out people that knew. I started making allies in all these different places. John and Renee Walters were a married couple out of St. Mary's. It's still in the panhandle of Idaho. And they were on the front lines fighting, and I had no idea they were doing it. They were out there kicking ass, going to game meetings, getting on boards to try to stop this. And then one day it occurred to me, I thought, I'm going to film this shit. And I took my 11-year-old daughter to a fishing game. It was the day that wolves were delisted. I took my 11-year-old daughter. She's the one that told me it was happening. I didn't even know it was happening. She said, Dad, there's going to be a fishing game meeting. She's 11 years old. I said, hell yeah. Do you want to interview the people? She goes, yeah, that'd be fun. So we got down to the Coeur d'Alene office of Fish and Game, and she took her camera, or my camera. It was like a little Kodak, tiny. And she interviewed all the people on one side. And then on the other side was the hunters. They're like, yeah, we need to hunt. They're trying to hunt. I go, well, shit, I totally align with that. And so we didn't even interview them. So, it's like being an echo chamber.
Yeah, echo chamber. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. So we went on the other side, and my daughter interviewed all the people, and she already knew that I'd been talking about this for about 2 years. I was online, and I was talking to my wife, and I was talking to my kids, and telling them how our hunting had changed. And so she interviewed all these people up the line. They're nuts. They're flat nuts. Every single one.
So they were that was a non-hunting side. What were they like, against delisting the wolves kind of thing?
Yes.
Or gotcha. Okay.
Nature, all that horse shit that they spew all the time. And then I pretty much called them at that time emotionally intoxicated urbanites. They don't know shit.
Yeah.
They don't know about our culture, our way of life, and they don't know wildlife. So my daughter worked her way up and then got to the end where the spokesman review reporter, Becky Kramer, I think her name was. Gosh, I can't believe I remembered that. So my daughter interviews her, and my daughter goes, why are you interviewing all these people for an article on the spokesman review, and you're not on the other side to interview the people that are going to be impacted. The people on this side are not going to be impacted. And so she tries to give my daughter the rundown. And my daughter already picked up everything I already told her. I mean, I already taught her pretty much what wolves do. And she knew that they don't save the sick and the weak. And she already knew 2 years, maybe a year and a half into it. And it was a kick-ass time. We had a good time. So we left there. And at this time I created my YouTube channel because there was nothing out there for us.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
Blogs were not a thing. There was no YouTube channels on it. Everything I saw on YouTube was hating hunters. And I thought, what the hell's going on with our world? This is crazy. So I created my channel, Rockholm 66 on YouTube. So I started. So anyway, we leave that meeting in Coeur d'Alene. We go up to Coquilala, which is almost to Sandpoint. And we go into wolf people. And we listen to their bullshit. And my daughter.
I remember that place.
Yeah, I got them shut down.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. That's later.
I never went there. I just drove by it a lot.
Oh, it stinks like dog shit.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me.
So my daughter interviews these nuts there, and they're all crazy as crazy can get. And so anyway, I pumped the video out there, and then it started a local war between wolf people and myself. And so it went on and on, but what I didn't recognize is my own Fish and Game officials were allying with these people to cut a deal during delisting process. So if for people who don't know, the delisting process went on from 2000 to 2011. That's how long it took because of lawsuits and deals and crap that our state was pulling. And they didn't want to upset the system because our state gets federal money. If they interfered with the process, they wouldn't get that federal dollars. Montana does it too. It's horseshit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if I'm skipping something here because I got a lot of information on this. So they went through the whole process of delisting and really not wanting to delist. And our own Fish and Game Commissioner, Tony McDermott, right after a Fish and Game meeting that we had all went to. So by this time, I didn't create it. We had a coalition because we all came together as hunters. And we said, this is horseshit. And they're vocal people. They knew how to speak.
And Scott, about what year was this at this point?
2011, 2012.
Okay. Oh, right. You said it was right at delisting, which was 2011.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
The first delisting. So there's two.
Yeah.
We had the first one, and then it got shut down. So, and there's a crap load of stuff in between. We'll get into that if you want to ask questions before, like what actually happened. There's a ton of shit. So we were in a fishing game meeting in Coeur d'Alene. I didn't meet with. I gave a speech there. I put it on YouTube. It's on there. You can see it. Where I called them out. I said, these animals are the people's. Idaho Code 36103 says that you will perpetuate wildlife for future generations of not animals, but humans. It's in the law. And so I went to the Fish and Game and I said, look, why are you not perpetuating wildlife? You're letting them be fed to wolves. And then, of course, wolf people were there. I didn't even think about it. Why would they be there? But they're always there. They're there in Montana when you go to meetings, because I filmed tons of meetings in Montana as well. But they're always there present to be agitators towards the commissioners and the Fish and Game employees to make them scared, because they're way more vocal. The hunters don't want to create controversy. They want to go hunting. Leave me alone. I want to work, pay my bills, raise my family, and hunt. So they don't want any of the controversy. I knew that. I didn't want it either, but I realized that if I didn't do it, who would do it? That's when things took off. So I got a recording of those wolf people and the wolf advocates meeting with our Fish and Game officials, cutting a deal. It used to be 10 breeding pairs of wolves in Idaho was delisting criteria. And our Fish and Game Commission agreed to this massive 4,000 wolf population deal. So we got sued. That massively increased the population. Then our own Fish and Game people allowed it to go further, and then I found an internal document in the meantime, where our fishing game people knew that you had to piss off the people. You had to let it go long enough and piss off maybe this much less than required, where they were going to go ballistic, and then release, then let them hunt them, knowing that we would never hunt our way out of this. They knew it. Yeah. They knew it the whole time. So I have the dog.
Which is what has happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like we finally gotten people in the state of Idaho, because you got to remember, and I'm saying this for the listener's sake, you got to remember, like, when they released wolves into Idaho and the population grew, and then all of a sudden they were delisted, and all of a sudden we were permitted to hunt and trap. You got to understand, nobody here knew how to hunt and trap wolves. There wasn't anybody here, and so trapping a wolf is at this point definitely far more effective than hunting a wolf. Hunting wolves is extremely difficult. Just like you were talking about in that video, you found all those old school hunters and trappers, and like out of like 50 years, how many wolves did they actually kill through hunting?
In Yellowstone, in 50-year period from 1895 to 1905, I think they only killed 50 wolves. So it comes down to wolf densities and who controls them.
And so yeah, and exactly. And so, like, the point I'm trying to make is, it's not like we had all these super effective trappers to get out there and start calling these wolves down. And it took years, and during that time, the wolf population is compounding. Again, I'm pointing out one of your videos, kind of like credit card interest, right? It's just compounding and building and compounding. So now we've got all these effective wolf trappers here. But it's still not enough to get this. This population is 10 times surpassed what the minimal objective was to get them even relisted. And so if you take a handful of trappers and they have a decent season, you're not even touching what the reproduction rate is on an annual basis. And that's kind of what the strategy was. Is that what you're saying? They wanted to surpass what would be, like a tangible goal, where, like, I guess they wanted to create this situation where it didn't matter how many wolves were trapped, because no matter what we did, we're not going to catch up with the reproduction rate and catch up to the population.
They knew that in 1946.
Okay. Interesting. And that's what I want to point out, guys. You're looking at somebody who, or listening to somebody who has years of research, who has bought all the history on this stuff from well, you explain that. What information, where are you getting your information? Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So this goes to the heart of where I left off. Okay. So I'm a dummy. I didn't know anything. I have a curiosity sense about me, and I always want to know something. And I've watched every single major hunter, Tim Wells to Cam Haynes, to learn, right?
Yeah, and me too.
When I started learning about wolves, I got ostracized. People were like, "Oh, you're kook. You don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, wait a minute. If I sat in an elk camp with you and I started talking elk, I would tell you what I learned from Cam Haynes or Tim Wells or a number of other great hunters. Ted Nugent. I mean, he doesn't hunt my stuff, but he hunts, and that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And so you have to, I'm going to say this early. You get picked on a lot when you're in my position. A lot by your enemies. But the worst ones that cut to the heart are the people in the hunting community. They will cut you down if they think for any instance you're going to overshadow them to be in front of the issue affecting elk, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that'll come later. I'll tell that story. That's a David Allen story from Elk Foundation. So I started researching, and I realized that every single study out there had a paywall. If your listeners don't understand what a paywall is, it means that if you want to read a study and understand the biology, I have a degree in biology, by the way. So I understand that the objectiveness of the studies and how to read them and look at them and the peer review kind of process.
Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't get past the abstract because the university system would make you pay upwards of $300 for every study. So the really important ones that I wanted to study.
God, see, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah,
really?
Nobody. And then all of the publications by our fish and game departments are copyrighted, and you cannot publish them. So if I use any of their material that they use that we paid them for, you'll get sued.
Wow. I didn't know that. No idea. Huh.
No. And I didn't know it at the time. So then I thought, well, shit, how am I going to get information? I thought, well, there's got to be history. And then I thought, well, I'll go to eBay and I'll start looking there. And then I found 2 dealers in Europe that started finding the stuff in estate sales. And this is over a 15-year period. They would call me or send me an email and say, hey, I found this really cool painting or this really cool document about wolves. Do you want to buy it? I go, okay, how much? And they would range from $50. Some of them are $20. And a lot of them are like $2,000, $3,000. And so I look around for my wife because I spent thousands of dollars on stuff.
Yeah.
And I really don't even know what the total number is, but I have stuff that's 600, 700, 800 years old from history of living with wolves, from Europe to Canada to Alaska. The Alaska stuff, the modern stuff here is a lot younger, but then I have a ton of information because I went through the archives of the New York Times, and I found hundreds, and I mean hundreds of people killed right here in the United States in the early days of our founding.
Killed by wolves?
Killed by wolves, humans. Yeah. Not even counting the hundreds and hundreds of stories and I'm talking articles, not stories, and not fables. People that had to deal with living with wolves while they're trying to start their homestead. And if you can imagine today trying to live that way, like you're the only one in 10 square miles, you're going to get hit by wolves. They're going to kill your animal.
Yeah.
So all of that time that I'd spent from, I'm talking at least 15 years of solid study. So I work in my day job 60 to 80 hours a week. I do equal amounts of work on the wolf issuance and research. And I just dug it up. I dug it up everywhere. And I have at the top up here, there's
I can see it.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of paintings and illustrations and news articles of people getting killed by wolves.
Guys, we're recording on Zoom, so I can see him. If you're wondering what he's talking about there, I could see the bookshelf behind him. It's got these huge binders.
Yeah, it contains thousands and thousands and thousands of documents that I've obtained. And then my daughter went to, I have all my daughters went to college, but I had a daughter that went to University of Idaho. And then I was able to access those files for the studies.
So because she was a student there, she could get access to them without you having to pay the $300 or whatever.
Yeah. So I got her
library
card essentially, and I started pulling everything I could. Jim Peak was one of the famous people that was, and I'll talk about names like Ed Bangs, Jim Peak, and Jerome Hansen and Tim Kaminsky and all these different people. These are people from the 1980s, before wolf introduction happened ever.
Yeah.
These are people that I found their studies that they tried to hide, where at first they tried to shut down logging.
Who tried to hide them? The people that did the studies, or the Fish and Game or something?
The Fish and Game.
Gotcha.
And biology. Idaho Fish. So I'm going to save the Idaho Fish and Game for a minute because they're the centerpiece of all of it. They're the ones that created wolf introduction. They're the ones.
So even though, and I'm gonna push back a little bit here. So even though it was the federal government that reintroduced them, right? The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Yep. What do you mean it was Idaho that pushed for that?
So in 1988, they had hearings to introduce wolves into Colorado. And the people of Colorado caught wind of it and shut it down. They just said, no, we're not going to do it. At the same time, the University of Colorado created a program for study within the wildlife department called Human Dimensions. Human Dimensions is not the study of wildlife. It's the study of people and the perceptions of hunting. That's a real thing. It happens today. You can look it up.
What did you say that was called? Human Dimensions?
Human Dimensions.
Okay.
And so we I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm
So
typing.
we ended up with a woman that was a part of that new program that moved to Idaho, was hired by Idaho Fish and Game. So she created a system by which you can survey the people, the public. They never ask hunters. Hunters are never, ever, ever included in. It's always perceptions of the public when it comes to hunting. And that's one of our big rubs, right? Because they always make us look like
that's what we talk about all the time. Why is it we have to suffer the consequences for people that don't have to suffer the consequences?
Because you have anti-hunters within the departments that are making that happen.
Yeah. I've been long suspicious of that.
Yeah. So I'm going to spell all that out. I mean, I'm talking off the top of my head. It's all memory, and it could be a little fuzzy here and there, but this is the progression how we got there. So we had a director of Idaho Fish and Game in 1994, Jerry Conley. Wait a minute. Let me back up. So we had Tim Kaminsky and Jerome Hansen did 2 studies, wolves in North Idaho and wolves in Central Idaho. You could not get your hands on that study. It's buried. I called Tim Kaminsky on his cell phone. I said, "Hey, my name's Scott Rockholm. I'd like to know more about that study. Do you think I could get a copy of it?" And he was doing a study at the time. Gosh, this is 2010 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in Canada doing a study on why wolves were preying on cows. So this guy makes a living on the most obvious shit you can ever imagine. What do wolves eat? They eat meat, dummy.
Moved animals. It's not that hard.
No, it's not hard at all. So this guy was super sweet guy. He was a prince of the man, like super nice and cordial. And he spent, $20 or $30 shipping me those studies. And they're probably, an inch thick. And I'm reading through it. And basically what it amounted to, the way they were studying, their angle was, and all studies are this way. All studies that you ever read are aimed at an angle to shut something down or stop it, whether it be water use or land use or shut down a road for logging. These guys, their goal, because it was right at the tail end of the spotted owl.
Mm-hmm.
And so my good friend Bill Hoppy always says that you have these jackasses that get in this, to be a game biologist or, somewhere within this policy making. What a freaking awesome job to be a game biologist. You never wear out a pair of boots. You just hang out in the wild for a while and write a paper on it. I learned. I've read every study that every Western state has written about wildlife. I've read them all. So these jerks go out and they're trying to shut down logging in North Idaho. So they write these 2 studies, and then you would never know it, but they sued. Wait a minute. They were sued. They were trying to shut down logging roads in Central Idaho, Yellow Pine, all the way up to the Canadian border, and they got sued. It made the headlines, but all those headlines are buried also. I got copies of those too, eventually. But they were sued because those studies were showing that we had tons and tons and tons of wolves that needed to be protected. So they were trying the protection process of wolves, but they were using logging as their angle. Didn't work. So Human Dimensions Department comes in and said, well, wait a minute. Let's change the perception of the public. Let's pump out some stuff to the public and see what they feel about it. And that's how the federal government got involved. They're like, hey, the people want wolves. And it's a keystone species. It's not.
Yeah.
That's
I know. We've had long conversations about the term keystone species on this this here podcast.
So they went on. So I read these 2 studies. I got my hands on the studies. And a really good friend, Ed Dull, he was my... So let me back up. So I created 2 organizations, Rockholm Media Group and Save Western Wildlife.
Say that, Scott, what was that second one you cut out there?
Save Western Wildlife.
States and Western Wildlife?
Save Western Wildlife.
Oh, Save Western Wildlife. Sorry.
So I knew I had to fight NGO to NGO. I couldn't be Scout Rockholm fighting NGO because you're Armenian. Yeah. But if I went at it as I'm trying to preserve my way of life, my culture and heritage, and the wildlife, and they're trying to feed my wildlife to wolves, I knew I had the upper hand publicly because I already knew the angle from the Human Dimensions Department. The Human Dimensions Department framed all this. So the public, when they had public meetings to introduce wolves, they were like, yeah, whatever. I was one of them. I sat in my living room in 1992 or 3 watching a program produced by Ducher Productions. They did a mountain lion production. Then they have this enclosure with wolves in it. And I thought, holy shit, that's so amazing. Like this guy's sitting amongst the wolves. It was cool as hell. I interviewed his girlfriend later on. I'll tell you the rest of that story later. But here, I thought it was cool, and the public thought it was cool. But all of our local news outlets, and just like today, they're framing the narrative. So we're all like, man, am I an asshole because I don't think it's going to be a good idea to bring wolves in? You do question that when I think at that time I was 27 years old. So, gosh, where was it going with this?
I want to touch on that point real quick, and while you think about where you were at, but 26, 27 years old, and you think about why I was I don't know how old I was, mid 90s. I would have been a teenager, right? And I remember seeing in the papers, because obviously this is before social media and Facebook and YouTube and all this stuff. So the newspaper, man, I read the newspaper when I was a teenager, and I remember reading a story about how they were reintroducing wolves into the park. And I remember thinking back then, when I didn't know jack shit about wolves, everybody though, and this is all verifiable through your nursery rhymes and everything, Little Red Riding Hood, that there was always this negative connotation with wolves because those a lot of those myths and those legends and those stories and those nursery rhymes and whatever, they came out of Europe where they had actual wolf problems and people. This wasn't like a made up thing, right? And I had Dr. Valerius Geist on my show, who is from Ukraine, and he talked about that. He's like, those stories and those myths, they didn't come out of thin air. You're talking about an animal that when troops would be killed on like the Russian front back in the 18 or early 1900s, early 20th century or whatever, he said if they were wounded and they lay in the field, they would commit suicide because they were terrified the wolves were going to get them. And all these things that came out of when wolves were really hard to manage during a time when they didn't have long range rifles, they didn't have trapping set up the way that we do now, and on and on. I don't mean to hijack the story here.
No, it's great conversation.
But this is why. When I'm a teenager, a guy that all I knew is I loved to hunt, and I didn't know shit about wolves. I didn't know what the repercussions of having wolves in the landscape would be. But my reaction was like, why would they do that? We already took care of this problem. And this is coming from a guy, Scott, like it's not like I'm one of those, whoops, I keep moving that. Sorry. I'm not one of those guys that I don't want to go out and eradicate every single wolf on the landscape. I don't mind having a certain amount of wolves if they're very tightly, very closely managed by humans, not this fantasy of Mother Nature's going to balance the ecosystem herself. That's just and the people that spew that kind of stuff, they know they're full of shit. But it's not like I want to terminate every last wolf on the planet. I just want them heavily managed. I don't want them 10 times beyond what the objective number was to get them off the ESA. I don't see the value in releasing them into Colorado when there's already wolves in Colorado, or in Idaho when we already feel like the wolves were already here when they reintroduced them. They came down from Canada, and they were in Montana, they were in Northwest Washington, and I'm sure we'll get into all this. But I just want to set that up like that. That's how I feel about it. And that's how my reaction was when I didn't know anything about wildlife management or hunting with wolves or anything like that. Everybody had a bad taste in their mouth during that time for wolves, and that all came from a real place with real people that really suffered consequences from having wolves on the landscape and unmanaged.
Yeah, I'll go back to where I left off with where I was with figuring out fish and game. Fishing game was 100% involved. Not only Idaho fishing game, but Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. So Jerry Conley and his crew, Jerome Hansen, Kaminsky, and the others, there was a small group of people within Idaho Fish and Game that wanted this really bad. The legislature at that time told our Fish and Game director, "You're not doing this." The feds were talking about it, right? They're just talking. Our director, Jerry Conley, along with the help of a few people within Fish and Game, signed an illegal permit. They signed an illegal permit to bring wolves from Canada into Idaho. So what I learned
is that the prior, when you say bring wolves into or from Canada, is that outside of the site of reintroduction in 1995?
Yes.
Okay.
So in 1994, he signed the permit, and I have a copy of it. Nobody else. I don't think anybody else has a copy of it. I have a lot of things that nobody else has copies of. But this jackass signed a permit. No science done. No. We already had Canis lupus erymotus. That was our native wolf. At the time that they were talking about wolves, every region had its own subspecies of wolves. At the time, if you have to step back in time to look at the law that said you could not dump one subspecies on top of another. You couldn't do it. For instance, New Mexico and Arizona are getting Mexican wolves, but they're not even Mexican wolves. They're hybrids. They made them, those wolves. They made them. They bred coyotes with wolves to make those wolves. In our case, we had Canis lupus erymotus. It traveled in pairs. It hunted. Its impact was very, very little compared to what we have now. My friend Tim Kimmery and I, we pretty much have come down to, from our research, both of our research, that the wolves they brought from the McKenzie Valley in northern BC, if you can look this up today, they're the most voracious killers anywhere. And they brought that wolf specifically. I got Ed Banks to say it. Ed Banks is the guy that brought wolves to us. He's the head federal guy. He said in a meeting. Go ahead.
Oh, the reason why I'm not arguing with you, Scott. Just so you know, but I feel like it's always good to have a robust conversation, right?
Yes.
I have had actual working biologists on this show tell me that the idea that the species that they reintroduced into Idaho is different than the original wolves. They say that there is no evidence to support that. And see, because I think that I know where they're coming from a standpoint, like there's this thing, and I just learned about this. The terminology used is timber wolf, and a timber wolf, come to find out, is like this Midwestern wolf, right? It's not what we had here. We had the basically the same wolf that Canada has, but you're saying that that kind of wolf has like a subspecies. And each region is going to be some sort or some level of subspecies based on the habitat that they live on. Well, and I could see that too. You see how my mind works, man. I kind of like talk myself into some shit, here and there. But yeah, and I could see that because like I've been a prolific coyote hunter my entire life, and the coyotes I used to kill down in southern Utah were way different than the coyotes in central, like in northern Utah in the high country, and those were way different than the coyotes I kill here, right? And so, but there's like only one type of coyote that we all know of, and it doesn't look like Wile E. Coyote from the cartoon, and so I'm really curious about that because I have had people tell me, like, argue with me until they're blue in the teeth about whether or not the wolf that was reintroduced is the same wolf that was originally here, and you're saying otherwise.
I would say, first of all, how old is the biologist?
He's the most recent ones that I've had on were longer in the tooth. They weren't like young guys.
And then you ask, who are they trained by, and what did they learn by? Did they study Stanley P. Young? Stanley P. Young is one of the earliest wolf biologists that studied it. He's the one that classified all the subspecies in North and Central America. He's the godfather. And then if you look at the federal government's own biologists, if you look at their old studies, they named each subspecies. I have a Defenders of Wildlife bookmark that they gave away in 1988 that said Canis lupus erymotus, save it. So I know that it has some value to it, whether or not there's that many differences, because throughout history, I do find buffalo wolves are huge and they were hunting in and around Yellowstone. I do find that. Yeah. And there are big wolves in Texas. I know that. But what I find is in my study, with abundant prey, you're going to have bigger wolves. You're going to have stronger wolves and more prolific breeders. So those three things. So go back to 1940, where we were in Idaho shipping elk from Yellowstone to Idaho to create more wildlife, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And then we built on that from 1940 till 1995, untold numbers of elk. And then you bring a wolf down that's already huge. It's big. It's already healthy. It's already killing cattle. It's a cattle killing wolf that they brought down. I have the documents to prove that too. And then they jump them on top of elk. They've not seen a big, predator for a long time. It wiped out everything. Within 1 week, that first initiation of wolves to Central Idaho, it killed 250 elk in the first week because they're just the sport reflex kill.
Well, and the elk didn't know how to react. They didn't know what a wolf was, right? They just stood there. And I feel like that's what Colorado's going through right now. Those elk are in a state of shock. They're like, what the fuck is that thing? Ripping my hamstrings out and whatnot. And
so I wouldn't argue with the biologist who says that. I would say, who taught you? What are you looking at for objective information? Are you paying $300 for a study that told you otherwise? I got one right here. Where the hell did it go?
That's interesting you say that. I have wolf predation. I need to come see you. I'd love to see that in person. We're gonna be buddies.
Yeah. But
I love this stuff. I geek out on it. And you know what's so interesting about that? I years ago I took EMT school, right? And they were saying that we had as part of one of the classes for EMT, emergency medical technician, for anybody that didn't know what that is. One of the classes was this poison control guy. And he was saying that in our area, we don't have the brown recluse, right? And everybody in the class was arguing because we all thought, oh, the big bad brown recluse is everywhere, man. And he's going, nope. You don't have a brown recluse. You have a hobo spider, which is similar. And if you have a doctor that was trained medically in Missouri or Texas or Florida, they have brown recluse. So when they see the similarity of what a hobo spider does to you, they're going to diagnose that as a brown recluse. And so this myth develops, this legend develops out of this information that isn't fully there. And everybody thinks that we have brown recluse in Idaho and Utah. And we don't. Yep. And he said, yeah, sure. They get trucked in sometimes from a banana truck and coming out of California or something, or wherever they have brown recluse. But anyway, that's what that reminds me of. And so I always point that kind of stuff out, Scott, because, the essence of growth is critical thinking. And so sometimes you got to think outside of the box and do your own, level of thinking on some of this stuff. So I take everything with a grain of salt. I'm like, what did Reagan say, man? He said, trust but verify. That's kind of, and this is kind of part of that process. And so it's just interesting hearing a lot of this stuff that you, what gives it a lot of credibility from you, Scott, is you were here learning how to hunt elk and all this stuff prior to the wolves being reintroduced on this official level. And you've watched this progression. And I always like talking to guys that watch this progression. See, I didn't come to Idaho until 2004 after I got out of the service too. And I moved right up here. I'm always interested in hearing this progression from folks that have been here since the 80s and 90s, and how that's transitioned from this elk habitat paradise and a hunter's paradise in a lot of ways, to what it is now. So
I guess I'll go back to the wolf size this year in a minute, but I have this thought about, I can't tell you how amazing it is, your listeners, how amazing it is to be in elk country when every evening and every morning you hear them bugle. And when you hear them bugle, their natural habitat, and they're talking, they're singing. I'm a bow hunter. So I would be right in the thick of them in the morning before the sun even comes up, and I start hearing them chuckle. The cows are mewing. And you can tell in your mind, because at that time, when I finally got into my first elk was probably 1995. And I finally figured out, because we didn't have shit to listen to or watch. We had videos. I had Mike Eastman video.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good old Mike Eastman. Huh? They've been putting some of those clips from some of those older videos out.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I got cool. So I'm in the same circle as those guys. So I know people that know them, and I've got footage from Don Labaugh of Elk Incorporated. I've met with him several times. He gave me his footage of back what the Northern Yellowstone elk herd used to be. And he would tell me stories of just hiding in under him and Bill Hoppy.
Oh yeah.
Bill Hoppy would sit behind him, and his best friend would sit behind a log and and their main form of entertainment was calling elk. That's what I thought.
And they were doing it on those old school calls that weren't even official elk calls. They just kind of made them as they went, You
were lucky if you made a call out. Elk Incorporated, I had their first call. And I was trying to figure that shit out. And you're gagging on the reed, and you're like, damn.
God, that's some vintage shit right there, man. That's probably worth some money.
But that's what pissed me off. So when wolves first hit me, I packed my shit up. I took 2 weeks off work. It's costing me money to go hunting, but it's my culture, my heritage. Everything I love in life is hunting, and I want to share it with my family. So I have a 16 by 20 wall tent, wood stoves. I have the whole shittery. Set it all up. First day out, I didn't even find a piece of dried elk shit. Nothing. Didn't hear a single call. Nothing. Second day I go out. I'm sitting there. I got a Montana blind, and this is not a plug for them, but if you want to try it. But I had a beautiful Montana decoy behind me, and I always hunted by myself because me.
Do you like? I don't want to derail you, but do those decoys work, man? I've never tried an elk decoy.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
Really?
They're awesome. Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
So I'm sitting there in my bow. I'm sticking a huckleberry patch. I'm munching on huckleberries, waiting for the sun to come up. So I'm hearing a little calling, but it's actually kind of quiet. And I'm calling a couple cow calls here, a couple bugles. Nothing is really talking. And about an hour into it, I hear a snap of a twig. I turn around. There's two bulls that have my Montana decoy, and I didn't hear them come in. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. And
I believe it.
That's when I realized that wolves were making them silent, and you couldn't hear them talk, because the elk learn if they bugled or cow called. Well, I'll tell you later on. That's how I find wolves. I use cow calling.
Yeah, that's how the one this had to be about the time you're talking when we go back to about 2012. Now it might have been 2013 or 14, but I was cow calling, and I was like surrounded by wolves, and this was the first time I've ever heard them, and I was just seeing flashes. You know how thick and brushy North Idaho is, right? You just and I'm just seeing flashes of gray, and they're howling, and then it was like this wise older wolf down below let off this real ominous low pitched howl, and a couple of barks after it, and they all shut up and disappeared, as if aliens had abducted them. And I was all excited because it was the first time I'd bought a wolf tag, and I was going to stick an arrow in one, thinking that they were going to behave like coyotes. Yeah, they don't behave like coyotes.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, so let me go back to Jerry Conley. Jerry Conley signed the permit. Ed Bangs was the federal guy in charge of the wolves at that time. He asked Jerry Conley for the permit because I learned later on, I interviewed the man that counted all the wolves in Montana. His name is Ben. He's a head honcho at U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I spoke to him at a meeting in about 2013. And I asked him, I said, why did the 2 biological aides not find any wolves in Idaho? So these are federal agents, federal people in Idaho and Montana looking for wolves, because the original wolf plan, all they had to find is 2 breeding pairs, and they would stop everything. And we were on that path. So Ben finds 47 wolves in Montana. Then there's Rocky Barker, who is a writer for the Boise newspaper. He kind of followed along with all this, and he found them all the way. And remember, they're trying to shut down logging. So they need to find wolves to shut down logging. So they're like, hey, we got wolves. And Defenders of Wildlife's on board, and they're like, hey, Canis lupus eremotus. And that's our subspecies. Don't fuck with our subspecies. Seriously, they were adamant, do not dump wolves on our subspecies. That's what Defenders of Wildlife was about.
Huh. I didn't know that. Okay. Interesting.
I don't know. That's why
you got me on the edge of my seat, man. I'm okay.
So 1994 comes along. Jerry Conley signs a permit. Ed Bing says, okay, guys, let's go to Canada, get wolves. So he gets Carter Niemeyer, who is famous for his book Wolfer. He gave himself that name. He's not a wolfer. He's a dipshit. He was a federal trapper that became Idaho Fish and Game, became the guy that would verify if wolves killed your cattle. And he freaking ripped off thousands of people of their payment because in the early days, Defenders of Wildlife signed on to the wolf introduction program, but they promised to pay all the damages. And when the cattlemen heard about that, they're like, maybe it'll keep the elk out of my field. Maybe I'll save some alfalfa. Maybe it'll reduce the numbers a little bit, so I'm not hurt so hard. But if they come and kill my cows, then it's a wash, right? They ran out of money, and you had to do all this ridiculous shit. You had to put up flattery and electric fences and all this stuff to keep the wolves from killing your cattle. And so it went on and on and on like this for a long time. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Jerry Conley signs a permit. Carter Niemeyer and crew goes up to Canada to pick up the wolves, because the trappers in Canada were already doing that. They're already trapping. So they got 66 wolves and I think 44 something in the first few days. And I don't know how you trap 44 wolves. I'm pretty versed on wolves, and you're not going to catch that many wolves unless
not in a few days.
Right. But they did it. And somehow they're like, in their history of how they did it, like if you go to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and look it up, they're like, yeah, so we flew to Canada and we got wolves. Like it's in a zoo. Crazy. So they bring them down, still no permit. The feds didn't have a permit to bring them across the border. Form 3-177. I FOIA requested all that information. But on top of that, they didn't vet check these son of a bitches.
They didn't. Did you say they didn't vet check them?
Yeah. So
by the way, what do you have, like a photographic memory? You remember all these names and like, what did you call that law? Something 17. I already forgotten. It was 30 seconds ago.
Oh yeah, the Form 3-177.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've given a lot of speeches on this. So
gotcha. Okay.
And I'm winging it. I mean, I've kind of slowed down for a while, and I haven't really talked about it a bunch. This is all off the top of my head.
There's a lot of great trail cameras out there. I've run the Tacticams, and that's a great system, especially their cell cameras. I've run a lot of different brands that I've recommended to you guys in the past, but the right fit at the right time is the Spypoint trail cameras. I have a couple of the Flex G36s that are cell cams. They do a really good job for keeping track of everything that's going on my property, and I also have for, kind of out in the backcountry, I've got these Force Pro Pros. Man, the picture quality on those Force Pros is just amazing. If you guys saw some of the bear pictures I was showing you during Spring Bear, that was a Force Pro. Really great cameras. I'm really excited that they chose to sponsor the show, because I've been using Spypoint for a long time, and I think you guys are going to be just as happy as I am with them. And check them out at spypoint.com and let them know the Western Huntsman sent you. Some of you might be old enough to remember back in the day when you can go to Walmart and get you a Savage rifle for very cheap. And they did a good job, but they weren't like equipped for some of the hardcore hunting out there that we do today. If that's a memory that you have with Savage, like I do, I'm telling you, it's not like that anymore. Savage Arms is one of the premier firearms manufacturers dedicated to us hunters. I have this freaking Savage 110. It's the Apex Hunter, and this thing is amazing. I love the AccuTrigger. You can also get them with the AccuFit, which allows you to adjust the stock. So if you're buying them for youth hunters or whatever, or just, rifles fit you different. It's so flexible. It's so perfect for every hunter. It's just not the same Savage that it was 30, 40 years ago. It's a great firearm for everyday use while hunting, and they support hunters and they support this show, and I really appreciate Savage Arms. Check them out anywhere firearms are sold, or go to savagearms.com to find out more.
I'm passionate about it. I love hunting, and I love my ranching friends, and I think they all go hand in hand, and I think it's our culture, and I have to preserve it for my family. So that's why it's in my head.
Well, let me ask you this, Scott, because I think that's maybe an important factor that we haven't touched on. I could tell you my side of it, but I'm more interested in what you have to say. Why are you passionate about it? Why are you so passionate about wolves and what they've done, and getting to the bottom of their reintroduction, and because I have this mindset of, we could argue till we're blue in the teeth about what breed or subspecies the wolves that are here now are. But for me, what's important is the future, and how do we manage them, and how do we make sure these pro-wolf activist, extremist, freaking wackos don't have their way and have these wolves relisted so that our elk are just absolutely demolished. And the same with our moose, and same with our mule deer. So that's kind of my philosophy. But going back to what you were saying, what is it? Why are you so passionate? Why are you so worked up, and why are you so focused on getting to the bottom of this wolf issue on like a much deeper level than I think anybody else I've talked to on it?
So on my level, I see hunting. I see our Western way of life is at risk. I think the emotionally intoxicated urbanites are on attack at all times. They have the media. They have everything captured.
Scott, I am totally going to plagiarize that. Emotionally intoxicated urbanites. I fucking love that.
Yeah, that's what it is. And so I'll go back sometimes if you want to talk about my YouTube days and the YouTube wars. And when I talk to these lunatics, I try to talk reason into them. And I tried to tell them. So the first video I ever saw on YouTube, ever, my oldest daughter was trying to get on YouTube. And I'm like, fuck that. This is crazy shit. And it's nothing but a bunch of crazy shit. I don't want my daughter on this. So she says, Dad, it's not that bad. And so I kicked her off the computer, our only computer we had at that time. Mm-hmm. And I got on there and I got on YouTube and I started looking around like, you can type in anything. And so I typed in hunting. And the first video I saw was this beautiful moment where a young girl had just killed her first buck with her dad. And these fucking lunatics were attacking in the comments. But I didn't even know you could do that. And this is 2006 or 7. I mean, it's all brand new. And I'm like, holy shit. They're attacking a kid over the most beautiful moment a father could ever share with his child. Ever.
Psychotic, man.
Yep. And so that was my engine fire for a while. And so you go back to what I believe is happening. I believe there's a multi-front. We, as hunters, are not united at all.
No, we are not. And ironically, for some reason, hunters have this thing where they think that we all have to have this perfectly aligned mindset and this level of agreement in order to be friends. Like the antis, the pro wolf activist types that are just focused on that, they have some major disagreements with like the pro grizzly bear folks, but we're never going to see that, right? And anti-hunting people, we're never going to see that because they align. They're all on the same page and they present a united front. Hunters, good Lord, man. You use a different caliber than the guy down the street, and you're a cocksucker. I'm so sick of that. Sorry, my wife brought me a pen because I wanted to write that saying, emotionally intoxicated. Yeah, I'm totally gonna plagiarize that. But I'll give you credit, Scott.
It's true though.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's why it hit me. It's so true.
I'm fighting all these lunatics, and I first started calling them just lunatics, and then I realized they're so emotional. I have to tie it together. And my good friend Bob Fanning actually coined that phrase, weird bullshit, one day. And he's in a lot of my films. But what I saw is that my culture, my values, and I see the only bastion to saving our country is what we are. Our rural communities, our farmers, our ranchers. And so our enemies will pit ranchers against hunters. And I went to many fish and game meetings to where the ranchers are pissed off because the elk are moving in, killing or eating all their hay. And then I would stand up there and say, wait a minute. I said, the wolves push all the elk down into your field. I said, it's not the hunter's fault. It's your fish and game management practices. And it's all by design. And they keep us all spread apart. And half of my friends are ranchers, like literal, really big time ranchers.
Yeah.
The other half are hunters. And I hear them bitch about each other all the time. They go, stop it. I said, our enemy. So Renee Askins, who worked for the Turner Endangered Species Fund, 2001, was at a wolf meeting somewhere in Minnesota. And she's meeting with Dr. Taylor. It's in my film. And he's talking about how what's going to happen with wolves if they're going to kill all the elk. And he's a smart guy. Him and Charles Kay, another doctor, PhD biologist, was telling them what wolves are going to do. And Renee Askins with the Turner Endangered Species Fund reaches across the table and says, Dr. Taylor, you don't get it. This isn't about wolves. This is about driving 30,000 ranchers off public land grazing. They had an agenda.
That was in one of your videos. Okay, I remember that from one of the videos I watched of yours. Yeah. Yellowstone is dead. Okay, so
that's the goal. So then you'll have that faction, and then you'll have another faction that just hates human beings altogether, and then you have the other faction wants to stop hunting. So in my theory, my own personal beliefs, I believe that especially the anti-hunting group, if you kill the long rifle, why do you need a long rifle if there's no elk 500 yards away?
Yeah.
I need it.
I have brought that point. I had to shut my video off for you were cutting out a little bit there, buddy. Let my internet catch up. But anyway, I brought that up is because I often wonder, here's the thing, Scott, now I want to get your take on this. I often wonder what the motivation is for a lot of things. And I wonder that, like, I wonder what the motivation is for some of these extremists, this LGBT movement and let's castrate our children, right? And confuse them about their gender. I wonder, like, at the top of that whole narrative, what is somebody's motivation? Or let's say, what's another hot topic? Like, okay, let our borders be wide open. So in the last 90 days, we've had more than the population of the state of Wyoming of 80 some odd % of military age men freely come into our country, and given a credit card to go, fleece the public with or whatever. And I wonder, like, at the very top of that, the people that are pulling the strings on that, what is their motivation? Because I see nothing but destruction to the future of this country with stuff like that. And so that same question always goes to this anti-hunting movement. And as my buddy Mike Costello will say, the anti-hunting industry, because it is an industry. at the very top of that, what is the motivation to be a grown adult, literate American adult, or grown up, or whatever you want to call it? I said adult like 5 times there. To look at the actual data in front of them and say, okay, the reintroduction of wolves, we wanted 150 wolves and 10 breeding pair, or whatever that statistical number was. And now just in the state of Idaho, we've got 10 times that, which and now we know that there's really no such thing as a breeding pair per se. They'll all breed.
It's horseshit.
It's horseshit. We know it's not some big secret that it's not just the weak and sick of the elk and the moose and these other ungulate populations that get wiped out by wolves. They'll take down a perfectly healthy 350-inch class freaking bull elk without any problem, right?
Yep.
Not a problem. So we know that's bullshit. We know that their main food source, their prey base, is not mule deer; it's moose and elk. This again, a lot of this is all the stuff we were told, and now here we are sitting at this massive number. What was the state of Idaho's last projection? North of 1,400, somewhere between 1,400 and 1,500 wolves.
It's not even their number's not even close.
It can't be close. If you look at if you take a map of Idaho and you break out all the habitat that's suitable for wolves, and you say, okay, if there's that many wolves, that would roughly break out to this average of so many per acre or so many per square mile. If you do that based on the numbers that they tell us from these reports that they put out at some of these meetings, they're like that's like half the number that they're really reporting. So anyway, I've done that. I've geeked out on that kind of stuff, and the same thing for Montana. So, but my question is to that kind of stuff that is super obvious to guys like you and I. I feel like you're the kind of guy that you strip the emotion out of it and you just want the information. That's why you read books from 800 years ago on how they managed wolves, right?
Yep.
And I'm kind of like that too. I really want the information. This is why I have a lot of the mindset that I do. I don't get emotionally caught up in stupid shit like let's put the wolves back on the endangered species list, and act. Oh, and that was my other favorite when I saw this video today. If we don't relist wolves, we're never going to solve climate change. That literally one of them said that today, and it's like I just look at shit like that. Okay. A lot of dumb people can be fooled by that kind of stuff, but at the very top, the heap of shit that this is, whoever sits at the top, this is the question for you. What is their motivation?
Well, it's a club, and you're not in it. And the motivation is it's multilateral. They all have their different motivations. One goal being wolves, knowing the complete chaos. If you have wolves like in Spypoint, Idaho, back when I first started talking about this, all of my freaking best friends were like, yeah, whatever, Rockholm, you're an idiot. They're not going to kill everything. And it took a couple of years, and then 3 years goes by, and they're coming around. They're like, God damn it. Now I killed a bull moose, the one once in a lifetime bull moose, and it's littered with cysts that were given.
Yeah.
Those cysts were transferred by wolves. I said, I've been talking about this for freaking 18 years. Why haven't you listened? But then I realized that our own side, so we have the emotional hook. The emotional hook is it. And it doesn't matter what group uses what emotion to hook you. Every group has its own hook. And so it keeps us stirred up. And you and I want to live, John Q and Bill Q, Jim Q way of life, live our lives and raise our families and live a kind of a homestead kind of life where we're self-sufficient.
Yep.
We're under attack at all times, and we're just like, fuck you off. And then every turn we try to turn it off, and we can't, because then they're going out to chopping off our kids' penises, and everything is under attack. So how are you able to fight sufficiently with all that bullshit happening? I remember back when it was just me and the internet, and now it's everything in me. It's turned on you, and it's turned on, John Q public and your sister and your mom, and you don't even know what. I answer everything honestly all the time. Don't give a shit if it hurts feelings or anything. And I've challenged these crazy ass people in public, and they don't even have an answer for their own insanity.
I know. I couldn't agree with that part more. Another thing on that, they won't defend their position with people that actually know what they're talking about. I have tried, and I've said this, so the audience rolling their eyes. I've said this multiple times on a lot of episodes, but I have tried to great lengths try to get some of these pro-wolf organizations to send a representative to come and talk to me on my show.
Yeah.
And they don't. They absolutely, they always say, I don't think it's a fit for us, or we don't have anybody available, or whatever their excuse is. But they never have somebody that will actually defend their position, because like I'd love that chick that this stupid relist wolves campaign on Instagram put on today, that reel that came on talking about how, relisting wolves is going to pertain to climate change, solving climate change. Like, I'd love to get somebody like that on my show. Come and tell me how relisting wolves that are 10 times beyond the objective of what was required to get them off the ESA, how that pertains to fucking climate change. What are you going to sit here and tell me that they're going to reduce the hurricanes and wildfires because they're eating all the ungulates? Like what in the hell sense does that make? And I'm so tired of the general public getting steamrolled by these extremists. It's like 1% of the population, we get steamrolled, whether it's our border, whether it's this woke culture, this cancel everybody that doesn't agree, whether it's cutting kids' penises off because you can't grow up and keep kids out of your sexual fucking fantasies. It's all this stuff that just builds up, and I get so worked up about it because I feel like everybody, my buddy Gabe Hinkle, he was on the show, he called it toxic apathy. And that is a great line for that. And that stands out, that this apathy that the public has to just ignore what's obvious and accept what's beyond comprehensible because some extremist spews it on a PETA fucking post on Facebook, and or name your extremist group out there. I don't mean to get so worked up, man, but
you know who Edward Bernays is?
No, I have I don't know that.
Edward Bernays is the godfather of propaganda. He's the guy. He's the guy. He was friends with Goebbels in Germany.
Oh, interesting.
World War II.
Yeah.
He might even be related. I can't remember. But he's the one that created eggs and bacon for breakfast and empowering women with smoking. They have an institute this guy created. He's brilliant. Like fooling the public, constantly manipulating the public through messaging. So they have a institute in Washington, D.C. Idaho Fish and Game sent their own employees there to learn how to fuck with our heads as hunters. So we went from having open public meetings now in Idaho to these open houses to where all you can do is speak to one biologist that doesn't know shit about anything. They know about like a few stats or statistics, but you as a hunter, an investor in Fish and Game, you go there and you go, hey, what's going on here? Oh, well, you have to go talk to Tom over there. And you never really, like in the old days, if we all like, what the fuck is up with wolves? And everybody's in the room going, yeah, what the fuck is up?
And why do they do that too? You know, that's, I went to the Fish and Game meeting in Ponderay. This was a year or two ago. And they had all these signs up, on the table where it's like, oh, here's what's killing the whitetail and the elk. Most of it, like there's some weird, bizarre statistic about how it's mountain lions doing like 80% of the predation. And I see that sign, and then I think about the 15 freaking game cameras that I have set up through Unit 4A and 4 and Unit 1. and I have I have this data in front of me, and I have them on game trails, and I have them in areas where you might, because I'd like to catch some footage of an elk getting caught up by a pack of wolves or something. It'd just be good footage to get, So I have these game cameras everywhere. I have one freaking mountain lion in 12 months on these cameras. And you're telling me after wolf after wolf after wolf and black bear after black bear, but mostly wolves, running in packs 10 minutes behind a herd of elk, you're telling me that the biggest predation factor is a mountain lion? And I asked that question. I had a buddy Justin there. He was asking that question, and the lady's like, "Oh no, that's what it is. No, that's what it is." Oh, okay. And I don't mean to like pick on the Fish and Game. I know that there's a lot of good intentioned people that work within the Fish and Game system, and I just wonder, like, who the overlords are that are telling them to tell us that mountain lions are killing all the elk, because that doesn't make sense. And like, we see it, right? You see it.
I spent a great deal of time for FOIA requests, which are basically, I got their communications. I know what they're saying to each other. I don't think they're all great. I don't think any of them are great. There might be one or two, but most of the indoctrinated youngsters that are going into Fish and Game now, most of them are out-of-state people from the Midwest that do not give shit about wild game. They don't give a shit about your culture. I read all their emails. They don't care. And so I got into a point where I was trying to figure out where the hell they were coming from, because I thought, like you, I'm like, I love those guys. They're like gods to me. You get to talk to a Fish and Game guy? Damn. So I got their emails, and I learned, it took me about 2 pages, and I realized where they're coming from. They don't give two shits about you. And it's not a matter of that they just literally don't like you. They look down on you, and they think that you are subhuman, fucking redneck, hick, hayseed, and they're way more knowledgeable than you. But if you ask them how many boots they wore out, I guarantee they'll say like 1 pair of boots in 10 years. You wear out a set of boots in a year. So do I.
A lot now. Wait a minute, Scott. I wear Hoffman boots, made right here in North Idaho. Okay. No, but the point is well taken, and you're absolutely right from a standpoint of that's when I brought up that issue to that biologist, and she couldn't have been more than 26, 27 years old.
Yeah.
And I said something along the lines. I was like, how do you determine that information? Because the information that I have, and I'm in the field a lot. I mean, I am in the field a lot. And so you're telling me that mountain lions do this level of predation versus wolves, and wolves are way down on the list. And the response I got was like this super condescending explanation of nothingness. Does that make sense? Like that, like, oh, yeah. There was like all these words that said nothing. And it's just like, my reaction was kind of like, I don't mean to sound like an old guy, but like, I got socks older than you. And you're telling me that this is what you think is killing all the elk and all the whitetail and all the mule deer and everything else. When the amount of time I spend in the woods with all my cameras that I have set up, because I'm a trail camera junkie. I like to learn this stuff, and what a better way to learn the environment that you're hunting in than putting these cameras out there. And I watch these animals constantly, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to put this to you, but you're wrong. It's not a mountain lion problem.
I have way more respect for my hunting brothers and sisters to discount that they can call everybody a redneck hayseed. Yeah, there's some people that aren't like the rest of us, but whatever. I respect all hunters. They're my brothers. I feel that way. And you asked me about why I'm so passionate. They're picked on. They're just trying to do their. Most people are like me. 7 days a week working, hunting season comes. You get a little window to go hunt, and then Fishing Game fucks it up.
Yeah,
introducing wolves. What? Why did you do that? You didn't do anything about the mountain lions. And Idaho and Montana are a little bit different than the poor people in Washington, all the way down to California, Colorado. They can't freaking.
They can't. Yeah. They have no management avenue.
Sure.
And Colorado's totally fucked. I mean, they have totally there's no recourse.
When they released those freaking wolves down, I went down there. I spoke to 600 people down there.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that. See, what's respectable, Scott, is what I really like about that is you're a guy like me that is just concerned about the future, and you don't just bitch about it on Facebook. Like, you go to Colorado and you do something about it. You actually get involved, and you spend money and time and all this stuff to get knowledgeable on it. I have a lot more respect for somebody like that than I do some of these so-called hunting influencers out there that just sit and run their mouth all the time, but don't actually take action and do anything. And there's a lot of those out there. And that's not everybody. Certainly, there's a lot of people that are doing something about it, but there are people out there that could be doing more for the actual betterment and future of hunting, that have the audience to move the needle, that don't do shit about it. And it drives me crazy. And then we got Scott sitting here in Sandpoint, Idaho, that is going to Colorado and talking to them about wolves because he has dedicated himself to becoming an expert. And I have a lot of respect for that. So I appreciate you doing that, man.
I'll give you Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation story. So I had a bit of a war with one of the local Idaho hunting organizations. I won't even name him, but the guy was a jackass that ran it. And he was real political, and he's like, "Oh, you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do that." I'm not that way. I shoot from the hip. If you're wrong, I'm going to tell you about it right now. And he constantly tried to. We were trying to form a coalition of people. In the early days of fighting this, we were trying to get wolves delisted. And this guy was like being a jackass. And so I was working over in Montana. I worked at one of the most fantastic, most awesome places. If we talk offline, I'll tell you where it is. It's freaking bomb. In fact, I should sell tickets to it. It's that awesome.
Really?
You can see every animal, every single grizzly bears, black bears, cougar, everything. Wolves.
Yeah, I gotta know about this place, man.
So I was working in this place for 2 years. It was my own. I have over 400 hours of wolves killing.
You're talking about, you have 400 hours of footage of wolves killing something.
Yeah.
Okay. Just clarify. Okay.
So I met with one of my vendors, one of the guys that services what I do. And he says, "Have you ever met Charlie Decker?" And at this time I was John Q. Public. I was nobody. And I said, "No. Who is he?" He goes, "He's the founder of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. You never met him?" So, well, how the hell would I ever meet him? I'm not in circles like that. He goes, "But what you do, you should have already known him, because the wolves are killing all the fucking elk." I go, "Well, I guess I'm not in that, that's a club and I'm not in it." That's always the way I looked at it. He says, "Let me make an arrangement for you." And so I was on my way back, and I was working at Hungry Horse, Montana, which is by Kalispell. And I had to drive the 3 hours home. And on my way home, he lived on that drive home. So this is the owner of a company that's telling me. This is a big company. And he's a big donor to Elk Foundation. So he arranged the meeting. And on my way home, I'm grubby. I've been working all day. And I met with him. And I sat with him and his wife at his kitchen table. And we had a really good conversation. I said, "Look," "I'm just Scott Rockholm. I'm a nobody, but I'm trying to make a difference here. And if I could get Elk Foundation I was lobbying, but I didn't even know what the hell that was back then."
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to save my elk. You're the founder of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. And so I'm drinking their coffee. I'm sitting at their table, and he looks across at me and he goes, "Can't do it." This is before delisting. And I was shocked. I was speechless. And I said, Charlie, you know what that means? I said, this is the herds that you're supposed to build. You guys are the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. He goes, you don't understand. We're not in the business of elk. We're in the business of land. So I looked across at him and I said, without the elk, the moose, and the deer, that's just fucking real estate, man. That's all it is.
Yeah, I've said that for a long time. Public lands will have no value without the animals on them.
And that's what I tried to get to him. And turns out he told me, he says, if I say anything, my son just got a new television show back then. And if he says anything that disrupts that, then his kid's going to lose the show. And it broke my heart. I was a lifetime member, but man, I've been year after year getting my money, going to banquets and buying shit. They get me half ripped, and I fucking spend $1,000.
Oh, me too. I'm famous for that.
Last time I ever spent a dime was that year with them. And so then I met David Allen, who took over. Charlie Decker's the founder, many years since he was like president. And then David Allen took over, and I talked with him. And I said, David, when are you guys going to do something? Come out in public. They finally did come out because I really pressured them. And then there was some campaign where they were trying to sabotage me. David Allen said, no, I never met with them, but he didn't realize that I met with Charlie Decker. But that's neither here nor there. But these people, when you get down to it, it's money, sponsors. I can't tell you. I was on Jana Waller's TV show for her hunting show, talking to her about it. She was totally in agreement. It was a good show. It was about wolves. And she did really good. And her and her boyfriend gave me some great footage. But when you get into the heart of what the problem is, it doesn't matter if it's lunatics or our side. It comes down to money.
Yeah. No, it absolutely does. Yeah.
So if you don't have the clout and you're not the big donor, you really don't have much say.
That's what we need, man. We need like a billionaire type,
I've been trying.
Yeah. I think, that's one thing I'm always looking for on this show. I'm always looking for solutions to, kind of help with the future of hunting and save our message, present our message to the general public, the non-hunting public, so that they have a positive. We need those kind of stakeholders, the people that aren't really involved in hunting, but they're not against hunting. I'm not talking about like I got a death threat a couple weeks ago. Somebody sent it to me it was Facebook of all things. I got this Facebook message, and I usually, unless I know you or like we're friends, on Facebook you got to be Facebook friends or whatever. I usually don't see those, but they sent it through the Western Huntsman page, and so somehow I got this notification, and so I went in and checked it. I try to keep up on those, but you get a ton of them when you do a podcast. All sorts of people get mad at you. Anyway, I go look at this message, and this guy's like, if I ever see you in person, I'm gonna cut you open like you do all those animals and kill you and all this, but a typical anti-hunting lunatic. He's probably sitting in his mom's basement in his fucking Fruit of the Loom underwear. And anyway, so interestingly, I click on this guy's profile because I was going to respond to him, and I'm going through and he's showing himself at all these restaurants eating steak. And it's like, man, what gets into your mind that you hate hunting and you're not like even a vegan? I can understand a vegan being that angry at me to send me a death threat. Whatever. I don't care. I like you're malnourished or whatever. So you think that's a good idea. But like somebody that it looked like he made it look like his hobby was going to like steakhouses, and he sends me a death threat for being a hunter. Literally, that's what it was. It's not like I said something personally to him, and attacked him in any way. He just, found out who I was. So anyway, where was I going with that, Scott?
Don't know.
I had like this general direction I was going. Yeah, these lunatics. But that's what we were talking about. So I'm always looking for ways that we could reach out to like the masses, the general public, the not the anti-hunter, not the hunter. It's that 90% in between or 80%, whatever that. I've heard many different statistics on what that number is, but and actions we can take. And so I would add that one to my list. Like if we could find some billionaire or multi-millionaire that hunts, or that would be willing, maybe somebody that is a big donor to something like the RMEF, or
a million hunters that weren't complacent.
Well, yes, we talked about that. I talked about that on the last episode, where it's like we don't have to. I was just at that hunt expo down in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And every year, this year it actually didn't go for as much as it did last year, but every year they auction off this mule deer hunt on like Antelope Island in Utah or whatever, and that money goes to conservation efforts. It went for like $575,000, and I was talking about, not all of us have that kind of money. I certainly couldn't buy a deer tag for $575,000. I don't have that kind of cash. Okay, my debit card would get denied. And so, but what I do have, and what I know we all have that are listening to this, is we have a strength in numbers. We
right.
Like if there was 10,000 of us that gave $100 a year, that would strictly go towards preserving the future of hunting and fighting the anti-hunting community. That, do the math. And anyway, I'm going on a tangent.
When I started this, it started out, I don't even know how it started out in wolves. The wolves was the end game. I was trying to stop people from talking shit to some little girl that just killed her first deer, right?
Oh, that's right. You got into that, and I kind of cut you off on that. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but that's how it started. And then I started watching other videos, and these lunatics were attacking people. And then I started seeing this other group of people that was pro-wolf, and I'm starting to get into wolves. And then I start seeing where they're attacking anybody that hunted wolves. So in Canada, you can hunt them. So they were attacking those people. But I had the incredible, I still do. I have a support group of people around me that made all this possible. They helped me. I've gone to every single Western state because of them. They helped me finance it. My good friend Bruce Hemming helped me a shit ton to fight again. It's not about loves wolves, hates wolves. It's wolf densities and who controls it.
Yeah.
And then you go into all the other issues with hunting. So let's say a wolf comes into fish and game territories. Doesn't matter what state it is. It could be Utah, Nevada, California, whatever. Are game biologists off the hook at that point to do their job to perpetuate wildlife? 36103 in Idaho Code says that Idaho Fish and Game has to perpetuate wildlife for us. I know that Montana has the same code.
Yep.
So if they're not doing their freaking job and they just lay it on the wolf, well, okay, grizzly bears and wolves, sorry. Are they not really required for 30? Why are we paying them money? Fire their ass. If we're just going to let it all go back to nature, fire them all.
What about when on that note, Scott, what about when you look at like the biologists in the state of Washington who like were all but pleading to the commission that the bear density and the bear population in the state of Washington was beyond what was even minimally necessary to maintain a spring bear hunt, which is a draw system of like, less than 300 bear tags in the spring or some shit, like those biologists. Because I don't want to throw all biologists under the bus. They presented that information to the commission, and in that case, it was that commission that essentially said, no, hold on, Scott, our emotionally intoxicated urbanite asses decided awesome. That we don't like spring bear hunting, and we're going to take that off the table, despite the fact that our biologists said we should have a spring bear hunting season.
No, and I should rephrase. I know there's great biologists out there. I do. And I blanket them all the time. because I've dealt with so many years. And I would say, okay, let's make it a merit system. If you're doing good, we pay you good. If you don't do good, if you're going to promote wolves, bye.
I mean, I wish they would. I wish they would, but it's not like that anywhere. In any kind of government system, right? I mean,
but that's what the problem is.
Think about it. We have a teacher in the public school system. Both, let's say we have 2 teachers. No, we have 10 teachers. Okay. They've all been teaching for 10 years, 10 teachers teaching for 10 years. One of those 10 does a great job at getting these students up to speed as to where they need to go to being able to pass off into the next grade. The other 9, man, it's 6s. Half their students make it, half the others don't. But guess what? They all get paid the same.
No.
So what's the motivation, right? I mean, this government system is just so fucked. There's no incentive.
Yeah, and the thing is, the biology system 30 years ago got sucked into that. They all got sucked into that.
Yeah.
And so now, as hunters, we're like, Idaho Fish and Game says, Montana Fish, Wildlife and Park says, Nevada Fish and Game says. What we need to do is say, wait a fucking minute. Rockholm says this. Counter him. Engage him. Tell me he's wrong.
Do you find that you'll have has that been an issue where you come to the table, you come to these meetings, you bring all this information, you're well educated on the topic, and they just, like, I know you said back in the early days, they'd say, "Oh, go home, Rockholm." But what about today? Do they still just kind of blow you off and have this condescending reaction that, like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about? And
no, they shit their pants. When I show up, they shit their pants.
Really? Tell me a little bit about that.
So Idaho Fish and Game about 8 years ago, myself and a guy named Barry Coe is hyper intelligent, super freaking awesome bear hunter, good friend of mine. We showed up. First we approached Fish and Game with their numbers and their data, and we picked apart their data. And if you look into data, they use modeling. And if you know anything about modeling, let's say you're a bank and you're using modeling to scale your money supply, and you got caught stealing money. And then you went to the court and you said, well, judge or jury, I'm using this model that said I was going to make money and I would have made my shareholders money, but it never did. The judge threw it out. It happened in Bernie Madoff's case when he ripped off millions and millions and millions of dollars people, and he tried to use modeling as his scapegoat. And they would not allow modeling in the case because it's not provable. It has inputs and outputs that you can change. So that's what our Fish and Game does with numbers. So we figured this shit out, me and Barry Coe, long ago. And we went to Jim Hayden. He's now the head wolf guy. Piece of shit. Yeah, I'll say that under my brain.
I don't know the guy, so I whatever. Jim Hayden, if you're listening to this, you are more than welcome to come on this podcast anytime and counter this. So throw that out there.
He's a super nice guy, but he's the guy that wrote the programs for all the modeling since wolf introduction. He's the guy that pumped up our elk population, saying that we had plenty of protein biomass to feed the fucking wolves. He's the guy that gave them the evidence to say the federal government go, well, Idaho says they got plenty of game. They got plenty of game. They got hunters that could feed everybody. That's why I don't like it.
Gotcha.
So anyway, we went to Jim Hayden, had a meeting at his office in Coeur d'Alene. And we said, Jim, your numbers are fucked up. I want you to explain them to us common folks because we're simpletons, idiots. He couldn't do it. He said, you have to take it with a grain of salt. 2 weeks later, they had a Fish and Game meeting at the Coeur d'Alene Resort in Coeur d'Alene. My friend Barry brings a pound of salt. When he gets up there to stand up there to speak about the numbers, he hands them the pound of salt. And he says, your numbers are full of shit. Your modeling's full of shit. So the whole time, and then what I'm getting at, is Idaho Fish and Game's biologists, and I mean all of them, they all signed on. Everyone, you go to any study and look at their names in a list. of who signed on to all of the studies of what our game population was, from the highest to the lowest biologists that so-called went out there and studied. They flew fucking airplanes. And they call them bellwether areas. And so if you know anything about
hold on, Scott. Hold on, Scott. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I didn't lose you, did I? Oh, there you are. Okay. Sorry about that. I really hate to have to cut you off like that. I just the internet kind of cut you out there. Go ahead.
So they claim they have these bellwether areas that they counted their elk every year since 1979. Maybe earlier shit. I don't know now. Think of that word, bellwether area. Bellwether is indicative of a good place to look at something. Bellwether.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about that and I thought, so if you understand how wolves kill, which I did, wolves kill everything in their path. They'll kill every single freaking elk in the herd until nothing's left, or maybe 2 or 3 are left. The 2 or 3 that flee, they're going to go over the mountain and they're going to go to the next range where the other elk herd is. They join up. They keep doing this over and over. I recorded it on film. And he's trying to tell me that we don't know shit. And I go, wait a minute. You're counting the same fucking herd every single year like you did before wolves. How is that possible? So we literally went to the last fishing game meeting we went to. We hit them so hard with facts, they stopped having fishing game meetings.
Can I ask you something right there?
Yeah.
Are you saying that they were counting elk by aerial visualization in North Idaho?
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm no scientist, Scott, but I've flown over North Idaho.
Like, you can't see shit.
You don't see anything but trees. What are they talking about?
Well, except the bellwether.
The bellwether. So where they logged a north face slope or something, maybe you can see something cross there. But I'm not kidding. For those of you listening, if you've never driven through or flown over at a lower altitude of North Idaho, when you kind of fly over at about 500-600 feet, think of when you're walking in somebody's living room that has carpet. That's what it looks like. Like, remember back in the 90s when that green carpet was really popular? My mom had it. Everybody had that green carpet, and it was real like furry or fuzzy or whatever you want to call it, but when you're walking over it and you're looking down, literally, with the exception of you'll see the contours of the mountains. That's what North Idaho looks like. And that's why when you open the proclamation for the state of Idaho, it says that it has all these objective numbers in these different regions, whether or not those elk numbers are hitting that. And in the North Panhandle, it says no objective population objective is set for the Panhandle, or however they word that. I don't remember. But that's basically because they can't just fly around and count elk here. You can't fly around and count wolves. You can't fly. What you can do is fly around and count rivers and lakes. Other than that, the shit that lives in those woods, you're not seeing it from the sky. So that's interesting that's what the claim was, because that has been that way since mankind has been able to fly.
They stopped the objective levels after we called them out. They used to say it all the time. They wrote it all the time. You can actually go to the record and find where we did that, and you could see exactly when they stopped saying bellwether areas. They'd fly the valley of North Idaho all the way to Canada and back, and they have these ranches that they'd see if there was elk in them, and they tally the numbers. Then they plug into an algorithm that Jim Hayden created, saying, let's say they counted 6. The algorithm would show 250. Because Jim Hayden said historically, 250 lived there. If there were 6 in the field when they flew by, that's what lives in the field still. It makes no sense.
Can I ask a question about? We're not going to say it on air where you live, but you kind of described that area that you live and the families that are around there, or whatever. They've been there for generations. I know that. Yep. Do they talk about, like, historically? Because I've driven by that place and I've seen a bunch of elk out in the fields and whatnot in the winter. Sometimes even in the sun. Hell, I that's not true. It's not just winter. I see them year round out there. Do they talk about like the fact that like prior to wolves, did they have fields full of elk?
They had none.
Is that because that's something we've talked about on this show quite a bit, where the wolves have created this situation where the elk leave their normal regular habitat in the high country, and they come down and they'll start wintering on these ranches where there's no wolves, and then they like, it's like they realize, oh man, there's no wolves here chasing me around, so they end up staying there and they don't leave. And so this agricultural interface, when people drive through North Idaho, they think there's a shitload of wolves here, but the reality is they're just not in the mountains where they normally live because the wolves have chased them off. Is that the case with what they say historically?
Yeah, so go back historically in history and go back to the 17 and 1800s. Wolves or elk never lived in the prairie like it's sold from Elk Foundation. The Elk Foundation sells it so they can buy up land in the prairie. That's kind of
and they're. I don't want to speak for the Elk Foundation from that standpoint. What I've always taken that as, Scott, is there used to be elk on the Midwestern plains and the prairies with the buffalo and whatnot, but they were also out west, but they lived in the high country, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I misunderstood.
Not bashing on them. This is historic.
Oh, I don't care if you do. Anybody we bash on with this show, if they want to come on and make a case, I am like, you know me, Scott. Now we've been talking for a couple hours here. I'm pretty friendly, right? They can come on my show and they can like make a response to what you're saying or what anybody else has said on past episodes. So
if you go back in history and you go back to the trapping records of all the early trappers that came through the United States, French trappers, American trappers, I personally own 10 of their diaries. And you read through the diaries. It's your wife giving you beer.
My wife, she brought me a fresh drink, man. I'm having a cocktail. It's Friday night. I'm having how did you know that? I thought I was pretty sneaky there.
I've got
Is your wife bringing you freshies?
No, I'm by myself. I just got freshies on the side.
Oh, good man. Okay, you planned, pre-planned.
So if you go through history, and again, I'm going from a foundation not knowing shit. I don't know anything about wolves, and I feel like a fool. And I'm told by this group or that group and this Fish and Game or government groups or whoever, they're feeding this information out, and nothing's adding up. And I'm like, wait a minute. What's really going on? So I wanted to get the trapping records from the sources of people that walked through this country before we were here. Who are they?
Have that idea to go to the trapping records and diaries and stuff like that, because I'm like that too, man. So you probably don't know this. I'm a huge history buff and I'm a huge Civil War buff specifically, and sometimes I don't believe some of the shit that I've read. Like I'll read the paper from September 20th of 1862 about the recount of the Battle of Antietam, and then but I want to hear from the people that were there, so I'll read the diaries and the letters that they sent home and stuff like that. And they'll give you the real story, right? Have you always been like that? Are you like naturally suspicious of the information that the masses are being fed, and that's kind of what led you to that? Because I am too. I am, man. I don't even watch the news anymore. I don't believe them.
I don't. And so when I was looking through the diaries, I was reading, and the diaries are so freaking amazing. The shit these guys, we think of ourselves today, especially men, that we're tough. We're not even close.
No, man.
And the women at that time were tougher than we are today.
Yeah.
They're amazing people. But reading their stories, where you go and you start thinking in terms of like, wait a minute, these guys didn't have refrigeration. They had to, and not only them, Native Americans, right?
Yeah.
So I'm reading all these stories about coming in interactions with Native Americans, and Native Americans bring, every 3 days they would have a good meal, maybe 4 days. Think of that.
Crazy.
You're gonna chew on leather for a couple days before you got fresh meat. And then if you read Charles K., hopefully everybody listens to this, read Charles K. account of the Lewis and Clark diaries. So I read the diaries 3 times. He's 100% correct. And his account was the only time that Lewis and Clark encountered game, wild game, was between warring tribes. Think of what that did. And this is where I'm going to come back full circle on hunting. If you only have strips of land between here and there, the Cherokee, the Iroquois, the Kiowa, all these tribes were like trying to expand and move, and they were constantly conquering and taking over land. It wasn't just the evil white son of a bitches that did it. They did it too. And they moved in and killed they had to. There was not enough food, protein biomass to sustain. And when we think of Native American tribes, it's been put in our brain that we have these 200, 300, 400, 500 people living in teepees on the river. It never happened.
No, man. They never, like, people don't grasp that concept. Like, there were millions of people that managed the wildlife long before Europe showed up.
And they lived in small groups.
Oh, big group. And they also, like what you were talking about with the warring tribes and how they would move them, move into somebody else's territory. They did that for hunting. They did that for power. They did that, like, white European settlers did not invent let's take over somebody's land kind of thing. And I don't want somebody to send me some nasty email about how, Jim thinks that we are not responsible for atrocities against the Native American. Not saying that. I am saying that was the nature of the world back then. I am saying that they did that to each other as well. And like some of them cannibalized each other. If you ever read a book, there's a book called, I'm going to totally draw a blank. Something about the Comanche Moon, Summer of the Comanche Moon, or something like that.
Oh, that's a great book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That same author that wrote that book wrote an excellent account of Stonewall Jackson, and it's called Rebel Yell. Yep. Amazing freaking account of Stonewall Jackson in the Civil War. Well, his entire life up until he was killed in the Civil War. But I think his last name is Gwynn, S.W. Gwynn or something. These are great books, and they're historically super accurate. Like the Rebel Yell, I've done a lot of research on that particular topic. That particular Stonewall Jackson, a very interesting human being, and I mean he's deadly accurate with it. So anyway, that's a really good point that you make, Scott. That like people think that we just suddenly appeared and all of a sudden the game started getting wiped out, which may be true for the buffalo. May be true for certain things, but this idea that the wildlife prior to European settlement was managing itself is not true. The Native Americans, will you expand on the point that you were making about the wildlife could be found in between warring tribes?
Yeah, so there was a trapper that broke off of the Corps of Discovery, went into Yellowstone. Actually, they messed up and they missed Yellowstone, and he had his own little corps that took off, and he went south of the Tetons and came in the south side. And if you know anything about that area, it's freaking treacherous. So he came in on the south side of Yellowstone and thought he found a trail. And what they did was they followed the elk trails, because elk weren't a plains animal; they were in the mountains.
Yeah.
So they were walking the way up through there. And I have sarcasm like crazy. So anyway,
that's why we get along, brother.
So they almost died. And so they finally worked their way down. They meet the sheep people. And the reason they got their name, the sheep people, was from this man. And he was very versed in multiple languages, native tongue and sign language. And he asked him, he says, "Where's all the beaver?" Have you ever gone through the trapping records?
Somewhat, like, not to the level that you've gone through.
Where they got the beaver and all that stuff through the North American Fur Company and the Hudson Bay Company.
Yeah, the Hudson Bay Company. Yep,
I read them all. I read all of them. Not a single wolf felt in any of it.
No, and that's exactly what Dr. Valerius Geis was talking about when you're talking about the old trappers. Even in Canada, they'd be coming through the countryside. The wolves would compete with what the trappers were pursuing. And this was back in those days. We're talking about early to late 1800s. So, early to late 19th century there. You're talking about, when you think of big business today, you think of Walmart, right? You think of Google, Facebook, Meta, whatever they want to call it, Amazon, right? Back in those days, it was the Hudson Bay Company, and
Hudson
they
Bay
made
is the oldest company in the world.
exactly. And so they had a lot of incentive to go into the backcountry and trap for beaver, and get that beaver back east, so that they could produce it into whatever goods. A lot of times hats, a lot of different products were made out of this. But the point is the Hudson Bay Company was not about to allow a little problem like wolves get in the way of their production and their profit. Just like today, like take, for example, Google doesn't like to let things like little pesky things like facts get in the way of the results they're going to show you, right? And I can go down all sorts of conspiracy level kind of things, and I don't think they're conspiracies, but it's the same kind of thing. What was that?
2 fingers of whiskey. Do you know where that comes from?
Two what of whiskey?
You ask for a shot of whiskey, you ask me for 2 fingers. That's like an old saying.
Yes, I've heard that.
Because it comes from the Hudson Bay Company. They told their employees, and they ran it like a military, do not give the Native Americans any whiskey. And because then they will not work, and whatever reasons they wanted to say. But there was one entrepreneur that I read through the records that he got 2 barrels of whiskey, and he was like 5 forts into Canada, which is a long ass way, because they kept working their way through Canada before they moved down here. So he wanted to make his whiskey go a long way. So when he gave the native people a glass of whiskey, he put his fingers in there while he poured it, and it made the glass look fuller. So when he handed it to them, they looked like they had a full glass of whiskey and it had 2 fingers in it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that, Scott. That is the kind of stuff, that is the salt of the earth kind of facts right there. I love that kind of stuff.
So going back to the sheep people, he meets the sheep people, and he asks them, he says, "Where's all the beaver?" And the chief, or the head guy there, says, "There is no beaver. There's not been beaver here for many moons." And he goes, "What happened to them?" He said, "We ate them." And when he writes in his diary, he goes, "That's why we call them sheep people, because that's the only thing left in Yellowstone to eat is the sheep."
Huh.
It's incredible, because if you look at what when we founded the park, when Roosevelt founded the park, when he first went in there, he's like, "God dang, look at this. Look at all the animals."
Yeah.
That was way a long time after that. And that was after they were already killing wolves, and the elk population started coming back. And the type of wolf, I couldn't tell you what it was then. There's no record of exactly what that species was, but it was a killer, and it did have an effect. But those Native Americans, the sheep eaters, they were the only ones in there. If you went up to north of the park, let's say Prairie or north, the Native Americans didn't go into the park. It scared the shit out of them, because the guys, they thought they were evil spirits. They never went there.
Yeah, so I've read something about that. It was the gods had created that because it was supposed to be optimal hunting ground, and so the gods created these evil geysers to keep people from going in there, because some tribe went in to hunt and pissed off the gods. I'm totally butchering the story I read, but I'm sure there's multiple legends that come out of that.
From the trapper story, I only went from the trapper's point of view. When you get into I have the modern, I guess, postmodern accounts. Postmodern meaning all these young ideological people. I read all this shit too from Berkeley or wherever. But if you go back and you look at the period, of like, let's say 1970 through 2003, it's utter horseshit. Yeah. All studies. And I had Weckworth. Weckworth is, I think, is one. He did a really good study, but he was early. He was like before 78. And I read his stuff. There's a lot of time. I have so many names in my brain. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how did we hire all these people to manage our wildlife, and they got away with it? They're all retired.
Gosh, man, I'm saying, Jesus Christ, how does this guy remember all these names? It's mind-boggling. Like, I'm good at it, and you're way good at it.
Valerius Geist and I are very good friends before he passed away, and we were on a show.
That's right. I forgot we were talking about that. Go ahead.
So Valerius Geist, I want to memorialize him. I just think the world of him. I think it's one of the most fascinating. I was talking to him, and this goes to our hunting heritage, right? So I asked him, I said, there's no record of who wrote the North American model for wildlife conservation. Who the fuck wrote it? You know, I think Elk Foundation adopted that, which is awesome. But who wrote it?
Yeah, well, again, I had Dr. Geist on the show, Valerius Geist, and he says he didn't say exactly who wrote it. He said that somebody asked him, well, you don't have a North American model of wildlife conservation. And he said that, oh, yes, I do. Let me write it down on a napkin for you. And he gave it to him on that. And it kind of got adopted between him and like Shane Mahoney and all these folks. But Dr. Geist was talking about how the natives in Canada would wipe the wolves almost to extinction because it wasn't just because of the trapping. It was also because the wolves were killing. What do they call that? They're not eating everything they kill. I'm drawing a blank, man. It's late on a Friday night. What's that?
Biological desert.
Yeah, well, they would do that. They'd create the predator pits, but they would do the. I'm gonna listen to this episode back in my truck, and I'm gonna be pissed that I cannot remember this term. Something killing, like fun killing. What's that? Yeah, basically like sport killing, is kind of the term. So he was talking about that and how the natives they for since the Pleistocene, they would control the wolf numbers because the wolves would get into this thing where they would do this like sport killing thing, and develop these predator pits in these hunting grounds that were normally very good, and so Can you hold that up a little bit higher? I want to see the bottom of that. So he's holding up. Okay. Is that a copy or is that an original?
That's original.
That's original. So again, folks listening, audio only. He's holding up a book, Wolf Predation.
So it talks about that in Canada and all the way up through the Arctic, where the native peoples, where postmodern biologists went up there and said, hey, let's put wolves up there to control the population. And it starved out an entire population of Native American or Native Eskimos because, sorry, we fucked up.
Yeah.
That's usable.
Yeah, it's not. And the point of that is to relate it in. Everybody has a tendency to judge history in like the modern context and vice versa, right? And the point of that is all these pro-wolfers out there, these pro-wolf activists, I didn't mean to call them a wolfer, pro-wolf activists, these folks that just think that wolves are up on this pedestal, and the same people with the same group for grizzly bear. Grizzly bear is a whole other topic, but the point is they act like this wolf issue and wolf management and the management of ecosystems from a sense of environmental to ecological to habitat to animal management, all these things like as if this is a brand new thing. It's not. This stuff has been going on. These discussions that you and I are having, this is an ancient discussion. It's been going on for a long time. The difference is back in the days prior to, I would say, the last 60 years, 99.99% of the human beings on the earth had common sense, and they didn't sit around and argue and put certain species on a pedestal. So like in the time period that you're talking about, Scott, where we have these natives up in Canada ridding the landscape of the wolves so that the hunting is better and the trapping is better and all these things are bouncing out because they know that they create predator pits. And then they did it in a sense they knew that everything would die if they didn't manage the wolf. Everything would die because what would happen is the wolf would kill all the prey species, and then that would affect the wolves, and then the humans that lived in that area had nothing to hunt. And so, oh, I'm glad you're back, man. I was just trying to talk and yak and blah blah blah, but the point is this isn't new. This isn't new stuff. The difference is we just have new people that think that they have this moral authority to tell us that hunting and trapping wolves and wolf management is wrong, and that the ecosystem should be able to manage itself. And I'm sorry, but these people back 200 years ago, they didn't have infrastructure, highways, railways, reservoirs, trains, airplanes, airports, fences, agricultural systems built on the interface of the land, and they still found it necessary to manage the animals. So today, it's a more compounded issue with all those things I just listed. We have to manage these animals.
So here's something I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast often also, and he talks about management of wolves. I have a problem with that. The management process through the North American Model for Wildlife Conservation gives us the tools to perpetuate wildlife, right? It's meant to grow based on what the theories are behind why we hunt them, why we want them for food and hunting heritage and culture and everything else. Wolves are not even a part of that. I never call it wolf management ever. It's wolf control. Wolf control is the only way. You cannot manage.
But isn't management and control kind of the same thing? We're managing these animals to control their numbers to balance the ecosystems.
Yeah, but we don't need them to manage it because we already gave that job to ourselves. So we let them have a little picture of what. So Val Geist and I were talking. We're on a television show. We're in Nashville, Tennessee, talking wolves on RFD TV. And we were sitting with the producers of the show. And I love that guy. God dang.
I know. It was a loss when he passed, man. It was a loss to...
And we're talking about this very topic with the producers of the show. So all the footage I have, 400 hours of footage, I'm showing all the death and destruction shit, all the stuff that they caused. And the freaking show would not show any of my gore. Like anything that had blood. Well, if you got wolves killing something, they're going to be blood. And if you don't show people what they actually do, the sport reflex killing, where they pull the fetus out of the cow or the calf, or if they're just killing the bull, you can't show people that and not really get to the bigger picture. We're talking.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. So Val and I were talking. And we talked about the control issue, and that's when it came up. When I asked him, I said, "Who the hell wrote the? I cannot, for the life of me, figure out who wrote that." And he told me, and he's the sweetest guy. And he goes, "Scott, I got to tell you, you're exactly right about wolves on the settled landscape. They cannot exist, and therefore you cannot manage them. Who in the right mind would manage anything as horrendous as wolves to be in your backyard?"
Yeah.
That's like a pedophile in your backyard.
Yeah.
You can't control it. You don't know when the pedophile is going to be in your backyard or peeking through your fences or your windows. You control it by having law enforcement or means to control the threat. Management says, okay, I can manage 8 of them outside. I can manage 8 pedophiles outside because they have this much protection inside. That's the only thing I'm saying. And I know that game agencies use that word as management, as a tool to fool us. They fool the hunter to believe that they can do something about it, and they can't. You cannot trap them out. You cannot hunt them out. You can't.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Or did I cut you short there?
No, go ahead. This conversation.
Okay. You were talking about being on a television program with Valerius Geist, which everybody listening, if you haven't heard that episode that I did with him, nobody will simplify this problematic wolf situation like Dr. Geist can. And it is, I want to say it was 2021, because we had we discussed COVID a little bit, so it had to be after 2020. So it was like the first year or two of this here podcast. Um, anyways, the question I have for you, Scott, is when you're talking about like doing that show, and you had all this footage, and you had the bloody imagery, and like the reality, the stone cold reality of what happens. Do you feel like the fact that we as a society censors that kind of thing, like we're protecting the general public from seeing the carnage of something that is real?
Yeah.
Like I get certain things, and to an extent, but to show the carnage of a pack of wolves eating an elk that is still alive, or a lion in Africa doing that to a gazelle or a zebra, it always seems to be this thing where we need to censor that so that nobody's feelings are hurt, or nobody's upset, or they get like this PSTD or whatever from seeing something so traumatic. Do you feel like that's why we have things like proactive animal activists, and we've like sheltered ourselves to a point where people don't have a real grasp on what reality is, and whether that's humanistic reality or wildlife reality? And I know this is kind of a deeper question. I don't mean to get like super deep with this, but
it's perfect.
but what the fuck is wrong with us as a society that we have to censor that?
Sarah McLachlan, beautiful singer. She made a commercial about saving doggies and dog pounds.
Yeah,
How many people cried and donated money? It's all by effect, and it's for a purpose. It's the emotional hook for the emotionally intoxicated urbanite. If Nat Geo showed, so I can't tell you how many videos I've watched or movies that I've watched on wolves, and anything comes up, anything wolves for the last 20 years, it gets sent to me. If I didn't see it, I got to see it, because somebody knows I'm interested. And I watch Nat Geo's bullshit nonstop, and they'll show the wolves running through the deep snow, and the puppies are back in the back after just drinking milk from their mother, and all of a sudden they're chasing a cow, not a bull. Remember, I'm going to take credit for this. I destroyed the theory of natural balance on my footage, because those pricks back in 2003 to 2006 said they only killed the sick and the weak. So everything,
I remember.
It was internet wars. We were all like, bullshit, I'm seeing it. And then, Todd Frost, my friend, was like, bullshit, I've seen it. They're killing bulls. And everybody's like, no, they only kill the sick and the weak. So we started producing footage of what's happening. And then I went to Yellowstone, and Nat Geo was there. So once you start filming stuff, and you start becoming part of the whole system. And I haven't even talked about all the interviews and shit I've done. When I was out filming, they knew I was there. The head of Yellowstone Park knew I was there to film. Why? Why do you freaking know? It's like
because you weren't going to censor it,
right? But Nat Geo was there, so I asked the camera guys at Nat Geo. I go, why the fuck don't you show the reality of living with wolves? It's me, Scott Rockholm. I'm not poor. I'm not rich. I'm just an average guy. I love what I do, and I'm just trying to show people that they don't just kill the sick and the weak. And every time you guys pump something out to Nat Geo, I grew up on Nat Geo. I love that show.
Yeah, me too.
Or anything out. And then you started seeing the agenda play out, and you're like, wait a minute, they only kill the sick and the weak. And then all of a sudden you see the wolves running through the deep snow. It's beautiful shit.
Oh, yeah. So, and it is. You can't help but respect the wolf when you see them out there. They're a pack. They're running through the snow. They're staying on top, and just this beautiful thing. I'm not arguing with the fact that wolves are a beautiful animal. The thing that I'm saying is,
they're not see them when you really see them.
They're not what?
They're not beautiful when you know what they do.
No, but honestly, no animal is. Yeah, these are animals. They do animalistic things. and I don't like have some personal vendetta against the very existence of a wolf. What I have is I have a hatred for narratives that don't show us the reality. And I think that is why we have people that run around putting wolves on a pedestal and acting like grizzly bears shouldn't be released off the endangered species list. And honestly, I think that's why we have open borders and kids cutting penises off and woke culture and this extreme left wing of this country that has been extremely detrimental to the masculinity that is good and strong for the future of America. And we have this demasculated society where it's like, it's bad to know how to fucking change a tire. Like you're an idiot if you know how to change a tire or light a fire or build a shed for your chickens. You know, that's all what only idiots do, right? Because only these super uber highly educated, sophisticated fucking emotionally intoxicated urbanites can actually come out and do something productive because they're web designers that get pedicures every Friday. And I'm sorry, but this is the kind of stuff that it just drives me bananas, Scott, because I feel like this is the initial descent as a society, because we have escaped what reality is, and people we can't accept reality. That's what it is. So we can't accept reality. Really, you can't show what wolves do to an elk, to a 350-inch elk. You can't show that on TV, what they do to that animal. You can't, like people are so fucking soft, we can't watch that.
On RFD TV.
Yeah.
That's
exactly. Like what?
Kids are used to farm shit.
What are we protecting, even like if they were to put it on the PBS channel? What are we protecting kids from by not showing them what a pack of wolves does to an elk, or a grizzly bear does to an elk calf, or what a name your species, you know, what a lion does to a pack of lions, or no, what is that called? A pride of lions could do to a giraffe. You know, all these things that this is predation, this is nature, this is real, this is what the world is that we live in. What are we protecting children from? I get it. Do we need to show the carnage of the front lines of Iraq? You know, do we need to show that on TV? Maybe not, to kids at least. But protecting humans from what nature is why we have this society full of fucking weaklings, and we're losing our country. And I just don't like. I look at. I've been to Iraq, and I knew who I shared a foxhole with. In a real Marines, we called them fighting holes, right? We didn't call them foxholes.
It's true.
I would not share a fighting hole with like the lion's share of mankind in America anymore. I wouldn't trust them. They're fucking weak, man.
So I got a call. I was working in Montana, same place I was working when I talked about it earlier. I get a call from this lady, English accent. And while I'm talking to her on the phone, I'm looking her up. I still am. I'm a really good investigator. If you fuck with me, I'll know who you are, and I'll know where you live.
So I should stay on your good side, huh?
I'll tell you about the guy, my death threats too. But anyway, this gal's name is Susanna Hanslip. She's producer for the BBC. She catches wind that I got attacked by a pack of wolves while out filming. And I go, how did you hear about me getting attacked by a pack of wolves? I really didn't get out there. I really didn't put it out there because at the time I felt like a puss. Like me. You know,
I didn't even know you were attacked by a pack of wolves, man. So I'm listening to this with intention.
Yeah. So at the time that I was out filming, I was by myself, and I'm always by myself. I have 45 on my side. got my camera gear, got my tripod, and I go off this dirt road. So I learned how to find wolves fairly quickly. I read all the old literature on how to find them. So A.R. Harding is a great book. Anybody that wants to learn how to wolf trap, that's the freaking greatest book ever.
I think A.R. Harding,
and it was published in 1908 or 9. And so at the time, it was my first year in the spot. I was there for 2 years, so I was kind of getting to know the area, and they closed the entire area for half the year. You can't go in there. So it's surrounded by wilderness. So it's surrounded by the Bob Marshall, the Swan Mountains wilderness area, and the Spotted Bear wilderness area. It's this little tiny.
Yeah, I know roughly where you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't want to give it out because it's the most awesome.
Yeah. I'm still reeling from you saying Lightning Creek earlier in the. I'm really cautious about saying actual areas.
Yeah, but I was in there, and they just opened the gates to go in the backcountry, and if there's a Forest Service station 50 miles back in that road where the Forest Service employees started going in. But before that happens, they have to clear the road of all the windfall and all the winter, deadfall stuff. And at the time, the theory of natural balance still stood, and they only killed the sick and the weak. And I wanted to get in there because I knew I could take my camera and go, bullshit. Because I already found, at that time, I'd already found 50 or 60, maybe 70 wolf kills that were bulls or big animals that were healthy.
Yeah, you've got a bunch of footage of that, like that 350 range class bull. Like a bunch of footage of that. And and it's not like the other thing with that. I don't want to cut you off too bad, but the other thing with that with your footage that you showed with those bull elk that were killed by wolves, it's not like we're talking they were in 4 or 5 feet of snow, man. Like that snow was not that deep, and they still got those bull elk.
I'll explain that in a minute.
Okay.
But so I'm in there, and I'm going up the road, and you have to swerve in and out. And I was the only freaking guy in there. And when you go back into the spot, it's like being in the wilderness area in a pickup. But if your pickup breaks down, you're screwed. There's no cell phone. There's no nothing. So I was about 35 miles back in there, and I saw some ravens coming off the top, and the ravens will stage, and they'll stage up high, and then they'll dive in, and then they'll feed. And then, so that's what the Indians did. I read that in all the trapper books. And so I started watching the ravens. So I figured out, I found the spot. So I hike 1,000 feet down this mountain to a reservoir, and come up on a kill. And it was a fresh cow kill, like just happened. And there's still snow on the beach a little bit. The water, there's no ice on the water, but it was June 15th. So it was fairly decent weather. And so I'm looking around like, I'm cool. So I started filming, and I wanted to film a lot of times you'll see people claim that only mountain lions crush the nose. It's not true. Wolves do too.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And so at that time, you think back in time, they said it never happened. They would never kill a healthy animal. They only killed the sick and weak. So I'm filming all the aspects. One other thing that I noticed over filming all these years, that they attack on the right side for some reason a lot, like way more than the left side. Don't know why. They just do.
I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
So I'm making all these observations, keeping notes like crazy. And so I'm keeping all this footage, and I'm down I'm one knee down on the ground, and I've got my camera right in the face, filming the nose and the bite marks and the trauma that happens.
Can you see the bite marks like in the bone, in the skull?
You see the crush marks. You might see some puncture spots, but unless you skin it.
It wasn't. Oh, I gotcha. I misunderstood. So it still had skin, fur, all that stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
Happened.
It just happened. Sorry, my bad, man.
Hadn't even started eating ass out of the cat. But I know it's fresh, and I know it just happened. I see wolf tracks in the snow. I know it's there. And so this is when I first started, when you hear Val Geist talk about sport reflex killing, a lot of what his theories came from my footage that I'd send him. And I'm like, this is happening. These guys are
interesting. Okay.
We've been friends for a long time.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting there, I'm down on my hands, knees, or not hands, knees, but I got one knee down, I got one knee up, and I'm filming. And all of a sudden I see a flash out of the side of my vision. And I look over and there's a fucking wolf bouncing on his front feet, just kind of hopping. I go, I know what that is. That's prey testing. Because I read enough at that time. I knew exactly what it was. And
what did you call it? That's what?
Prey testing. He's going to see if I'm going to run.
Gotcha. Oh, prey testing. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm kind of on guard at that point. I'm still down, but I slowly stand up. I just bought this camera, and we're talking. I'm a nobody. I went from a $120 easy share camera to a $5,000 camera. I'm not going to drop it and start shooting. So I'm sitting there looking over at the side of me, and then all of a sudden he kind of pops out and he's just kind of playing with the puppy.
Roughly, Scott, what year was this?
2011, I think.
Right about. Okay, cool.
And so then two more come out, and then two more. And I think a total of like 7 or 8. I can't remember exactly where that. But they kind of do a semicircle around me. And this one big fucker, he gets up on a log, like a stump right in front of me, probably 30 yards ahead of me. And so I knew it was getting serious. And so on my footage, which I will never release because I sound like a little bitch crying.
But you'll show me, right?
I was pumping, man. I was pumping hard. And so
anybody would be, man. Like that would scare that would scare the shit out of me. And I'm not scared of wolves, but that would scare the shit out of me.
Don't ever, ever, ever buy a Ruger 45 model 88, 89 or whatever the hell it is. I had it. And I couldn't hit shit.
Oh wow.
So I mean, it's just me. I'm not going to rip on. I love Rugers. But anyway, I'm sitting there holding my camera, still filming, still action. So I pull the camera out, or pull my pistol out, and like straight out of a gangbanger movie or something. I kind of pointed sideways. I'm like, bang, bang, and thinking that it was going to scare them off, because remember, they were still on the endangered species list, and I'm in Montana. I didn't have a wolf hunt. There was no wolf hunting license for me.
Shit.
And I'm like, what am I going to do? So I shot a couple shots. 45 ACP is so freaking loud. It just deafened me. I couldn't hear shit. So one of my senses was gone. All I had then was like my smell and taste.
Yeah.
I had my vision. And so I'm looking, and every time so finally I dropped my camera and I pulled up properly, and 2 or 3 of them were coming this way around me. They're trying to flank me. And the only thing I had in my back was the reservoir. So I'd spin around and I'm getting ready to shoot, and I can catch these other fuckers on the other side trying to get around the other side. In the meantime, that one wolf was still on that freaking stump like he had telepathy. It was the craziest thing ever.
Wow.
So I started to panic. Yeah. And so I just pulled up real quick and pow, shot. Don't even know if I hit it. And at the same time, these other ones never even stopped approaching. I had to turn and shoot at them to keep them approaching. They didn't scare them at all. That's what
the gunshot didn't scare him off. Wow, nope. Really, man?
Yeah. So
that's insane.
Not the first or last time. Well, it was my first time, not the last time. Wolves are not afraid of gunshots. Do not think you're going to shoot at a wolf like pew pew and scare it off. You won't do it. They're hungry, or they're interested in killing you. Nothing.
But you were standing over their fresh kill, man. They were looking at you like you just stole it from. You've seen
like
them.
I was a grizzly bear.
They'll buck up on a grizzly like it's nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of what they were doing. I
didn't even go through my mind.
Yeah.
So anyway, I emptied my magazine, and I'm like, holy shit. So I happened to put one in my back pocket when I went down the mountain. And so I popped that one out, put a new one in, jacked one in, and I figured, so I had one opening to go through. And so I worked my way to that spot shooting. As I'm going, I got halfway up the hill. I turned the camera on myself. At that same time was when Timothy Treadwell got killed by grizzly bears.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to let my wife know. I mean, I still get emotional about it. I'm like, I'm not Timothy Treadwell. I wasn't trying to fucking dance with wolves.
Yeah. You weren't the wolf whisperer out there.
Right. And I want you to know that I love you. I told her all the stuff, you would tell somebody if you're dying. I knew I was going to die. I knew it. And then they came in a couple more times and I got 2 more. I had 1 bullet left when I got to my pickup. That's it.
No shit. So you're like working your way back, kind of shooting at them, and you get back to your pickup. You've got 1 bullet left.
Yeah, but in my pickup I had a rifle and a fully loaded rifle, and I didn't even think of just grab my rifle and shooting them. All I could think of is I got to go talk to my wife. That's all I could think.
Whenever these fruitcakes that advocate for gun control, just tell them this story. Like if you would have had an AR-15, that story would have turned out a lot differently.
But no, you couldn't, because the brush.
Why?
Just like
the brush. Yeah. Well, no, that's true. That's true, man.
I learned later the best weapon to carry, even if you're huckleberry picking, is a youth model 870 Remington shotgun slung over your shoulder. It works awesome. So,
I got a couple of 870s. That's not a bad idea, actually.
Double buck.
What was that?
Double buck.
Yeah, that's not a terrible idea. But my only issue, like I huckleberry pick in grizzly country, I'd be a little worried about that unless he was right up in my shit. I carry a 10 millimeter, but it's funny.
What was that? Slugs do every other shell. You pull your plug out and you alternate your shells and go 1 slug, 1 double-aught buck, and you do that. And that's how I get.
Idea. That's a super good idea. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, Scott,
so the
what was that?
BBC got a hold of me and they're like, "Hey, we heard about your situation. We want to come film." And I go, "Okay." And so I think 2 or 3 weeks. So they fly from London, these English people, and they want to put, because wolves and all Yellowstone shit, it's big time there. And so they show up and they called me and they said, "Hey, we're here." And I had a gut feeling they were going to fuck me over. So I'm like, I told her name, Susanna Hanslip. You can look her up. She's famous filmmaker. And I told her
from London or whatever.
Yeah.
England. Okay.
London. Yeah. And I told her, I said, "I'm not going to film with you. I don't trust you." And so I made her fly back home, and she's begging, like every day email, "Please, please, please, we got to have you in the film." And I wasn't in that many films back then. So I was kind of eager to do it, to get our side of the story out, because even the hunting channel wouldn't even pick me up.
Wow.
Like, no. So I wanted to get my name out there. So I said, when she texted me or emailed me the last time, I said, "Okay, I'll do it." So she showed up, and my condition was, you got to meet my wife and my 3 daughters. And that's the only condition. We got to have lunch. You got to meet my kids. So when you try to demonize me, you know that I have a family. I'm a normal guy. Didn't matter to her at all. I mean, she was cool to talk with and have lunch with. But when we went to film and we started down the same path I went down, and we'd stop like every 30 yards, and she had a huge camera, like huge camera.
The old school shit. Yeah.
Like 50 pounds. Sound guy, as we're working our way down the hill, and I'm telling the story, and I go, "This is what's going to happen. Like if we get down there, chances are you're going to see something." So he started getting spooked, and he started making these weird whoop, trying to warn whatever.
This is a sound guy.
The sound guy.
Or whatever. Was he British too?
Yeah. No, he was from Montana.
Oh, really? So they just contract somebody local to come and film all that shit?
Yeah. Interesting. So she's the film person. And so we met her and we went on this excursion. We're talking. So I set my middle daughter, I said, "Here, take my camera and do what I do. Just film me getting filmed. And then we can have it for a record if they try to screw with my speech."
That's brilliant, man. I always think of that. Like when Trump does an interview, why doesn't he have his own crew filming that shit so they can't just take stuff out of context? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, go on with your story.
So anyway, we're working our way down. This guy's whooping and whooping. I go, "What the hell are you doing, man?" He goes, "Oh, I read that you're supposed to make noise so you don't, spook like grizzly bears and wolves." And I said, "Works for grizzlies. Doesn't work for wolves. It makes them really curious. They're going to come." And he did it one more time. And I said, "I told you, you don't have a firearm." I had my 45 on my hip still, even in the film.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get down to the bottom. And so everywhere we stopped and filmed, she just kept like hammered away at me, like, did it really happen like that? And the way she structured the questions, I knew that she was setting it up to make me look like an idiot on film. So my daughter filmed, of course, and I have that. But we finally got to the bottom and to the kill. They thought the kill was going to be gone, and it was there. And all my casing,
really?
all my brass was there still. And they're like,
wow,
oh, you were stubbed. In English, that means you're fucked. And then my daughter
what do they call it? Stubbed? Stuffed.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. So we got done that. They went home, and then they called and they said they wanted me to get my wall tent, my elk set up, and set up an elk camp kind of setup. So this wolf lover from Washington State, because they're trying to put wolves in Washington State, and they were all a part of it. BBC, the whole thing was all a part of it. I didn't know that at the time, but they wanted to bring this Western Washington chick, environmentalist / emotionally intoxicated urbanite.
Emotionally intoxicated. I'm naming this episode "Emotionally Intoxicated Urbanites" or something. I'm going to somehow use that in the title of this episode. I love it.
They wanted to put her in my tent, and they wanted to stay together in wolf country so I could show her wolves. And I said, absolutely not. And so they published the film. It's called Land of the Lost Wolves. I'm in that film, and they do make me look like a lunatic. And one of the spots they put me in, they're like, what do you think we need to do? And I said, we need to kill wolves. And then they patched it together to make it seem like I wanted to use a bazooka on them and grenade them.
Yeah. Little M203 grenade launcher and wipe them out. That's what they always do, dude. That's what we discuss that a lot on this show is the overall narrative. We as hunters, we don't control it. We don't control the narrative, and we allow other people to define who we are. And that's what we're trying to eliminate. And I think that's really important that we do that we focus on the fact that as hunters, we have to define who we are. We're not going to allow somebody else to control the narrative anymore. We're not going to allow somebody else to tell our story. It's time for us to step up and not be so passive. And again, to bring up my buddy Gabe, we're not going to have a bunch of toxic apathy and allow these emotionally intoxicated urbanites to fucking tell us who we are, right? So this has been great, Scott. I got to wrap it up. I am literally out of empty water bottles to pee in, and we've been going for almost 3 hours. So let's wrap this one up. But what was that?
I think I told you it'd take a while.
No, it's good. I always like it when they, if I'm going on a podcast and we're not even an hour into it and I start wrapping it up, it means that it's not going good. Right.
Yeah.
And so that does happen. And it's not personal. Some people just are not cut out to be on a podcast just because they're not great talkers. They might be great people, but they're not great at recording a podcast. And so, again, we're almost 3 hours into this. So, what I was hoping we could do and agree on is when I get all this, like you see this little back wall behind me, right? You can see all the patches I've done, a couple of so now we got to paint, and then I'm going to redo all this shit and make it super cool in here. But I'd love to have you come into the studio, into this. We call this the Broken Town Studio. I'd love to have you come in person. When I leave here to head to Sandpoint, it takes me exactly 40 minutes, sometimes 45. Now, again, that's summer hour. That's summer driving, not right now. It would take an hour, but that's because it's still February. No, it's March today, right? March 1st.
Yep.
Holy cow, man, we're almost there. So anyway, I'd love to have you come back in and do that.
Yeah, sure, anytime.
Okay. Yeah. Tell everybody where they could find you, your YouTube channel, whatever social media you want to promote, or at least let people know where they could find you.
Yeah, so Rockholm 66 on YouTube, and that's an old channel. I haven't uploaded any newer videos, but you can go to Rockholm Media Group on Instagram, And other than that, I just fly. I just do my own thing.
So, guys listening, I'm going to put the YouTube channel and the Instagram in the show notes on this episode. So, if you guys want to follow along with Scott, I think it's again, like I always say, what do we always talk about? We talk about how this mental toolbox we have, and to have as many tools from that as we could find, and that comes from listening to different perspectives and dude, I'm going to be honest. I'm starting to slur my speech. I had just enough whiskey. I feel like I'm slurring a little bit, man. And so I'm going to leave it all in there. Fuck it, man. If they know I'm jacked up, fuck it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's the toolbox theory I have. I stand behind it. And I really like your perspective. I think I feel like I found a new friend, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks. Yeah, same.
Well, let's and did you agree to that while we're recording? You'll come into the studio when I have it done,
absolutely.
all being remodeled.
I think we'll probably see what happens.
We're gonna have to. I'm in Sandpoint all the time. We'll have to stop and I'll meet up somewhere and grab a cup of coffee. So
yeah, certainly the IPA, the Port Authority.
That's good. I'm good with that. Scott, thanks again for joining me. This was a great conversation.
You bet. I'll see you soon. Take care.
All right, Sam. You too. You made it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Western Huntsman and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on the mountain.